My phone died on TikTok, but I'm on TikTok and on Twitch, Meta, trying to get people to come to the TikTok live and then come join us here. You know what I mean? So we're doing that. CIA phone charger. Yes. Hi. Yeah. So we're gonna be on here for like 5 minutes doing an annoying thing just so people know to come join us over on Twitch. I feel like it's effective. Yay, thank you. I'm so glad. I got a lot of liberals in the comments of my most recent video. It's so funny. It's always the same stuff too. They're always like, okay, but North Korea is evil and bad. And I'm like, who told you that? Where did you learn that from? Why do you think that? No, I've never played Marble Rivals. The live didn't crash, my phone died. This is the story of my life. The Twitch handle is Madeline Pendleton, but with no underscore. Johnny Palmadessa. No. Okay, maybe I will. I like some slop. I try to be patient and friendly. In TikTok, I yell a little more than I do on Twitch. Back from TikTok live. Yeah, sorry. My phone died. Oh, yeah, that just happened in my comment section. I asked somebody where they learned about North Korea, and they were like, documentaries. And I was like, which ones? Like what? Very interesting. I wonder what she replied. You found us. Hi, Hunter Catskill. Welcome. Fewer angering libs. Yeah, it's so true. It really is true. I kind of feel like maybe this is wishful thinking. Okay. There's a vegan restaurant near you that got exposed for using real meat? No. Where? I feel like I could tell. I feel like I would know. You know what I mean? No CIA today. Yeah, the comments on that post are wild, though. They're literally just communism bad. Yeonmi Park documentaries? Probably true. Must be true. Psst. BBC documentaries. Yes. The secret ingredient was meat. Oh my god. I don't remember that episode of Buffy, but I watched Buffy before I was vegan, so maybe I missed it. This one's just bobby pins. It's cute though, huh? I was thinking about growing my bangs out. Could be fun. Maybe my bangs era is over. Bet you didn't watch The Little Citizens of Pyongyang, the documentary lover. Somebody go on and tell her to watch that. Be like, I know a documentary you should watch. Don't look at her net worth. A Republic of Fork poster? Yeah, I'll make one. I've never heard Marxism in Africa, but that is very interesting to me. I would love that. Anarcho-capitalist? That is a thing. I regret to inform you they do exist. Yes, they're like ultra-libertarians. We're double streaming, yeah. We're meta streaming. We're stream on stream to get people to come here. How many people are over here in our Twitch now? I can't see. If somebody could tell me how many people are in, let me know. 70. Okay, 70. 70's all right. You guys, you should go over to Twitch. Go over to Twitch. Elliot Stormborn first time chat. We can do better than 70. We usually start with more than 70. I think it's because my phone died and only 130 people are on here now, and usually it's like more like 300 to 400 at least. Yeah. Twitch username is Madeline Pendleton, but with no, it's just like my username here, but with no underscore. Come join us on Twitch. We can show sources. We can talk about things in more details. It's less TikTok slop, you know? Hydrating. Oh, I have to go get water. I'm going to leave you guys for a second while I go get water, but I'm going to bring these people with me. And you guys can decide if you have any recommendations for what to talk about today. Ask amongst yourselves. King Trump, King of America. Unironically correct. I'm happy someone's happy this time. I'm happy someone's that guy's stoked. Utah's my favorite state. Also, when I met my partner, so my partner in LA has anarchist tendencies. I'm talking about my partner. My partner like has anarchist tendencies. But when I met them, one of the things they said is they once got in trouble for being too sympathetic to North Korea with their friend group. And I was like, I can work with this. And then I asked them what their favorite U.S. state was. And they said Utah, which is my favorite U.S. state. And I was like, wait, we're gonna figure this out. Oh, don't talk about ICE. A bunch of leftist creators got banned last night. Wait, really? Oh, were they banned because they were like showing violence though? 120 is better. Okay. 120 is better. For Maduro stuff, I would look at Alan McLeod's work because he actually has an article. Oh. Okay. We're jumping over to Twitch now. See you guys over there. Okay. Bye. Okay. I'm sorry. Hi, I'm here now. I'm just with you. So Alan McLeod has an article from 2024 when he went and actually did election monitoring there. But more than that, he has written about Venezuela going way back. Like his doctoral dissertation was on Venezuela. And he has a PhD in sociology. So he's written a book about Venezuela. He's written 5 peer-reviewed academic texts about Venezuela. And he's written for Mint Press News about Venezuela and actually went and did election monitoring there in 2024. And he got his degree from University of Glasgow, so he is not like American, so he doesn't really have that bias built into it. And it was cute when we read the story. I was like, oh my God, one of the people who went to also do election monitoring is an org that my org has worked with here in LA before. I'm like, I know these people. And they went and did election monitoring too. But shouldn't be a big surprise because my org also has worked with people on the ground in Venezuela. So yeah, kind of that. Made it over from TikTok. Yay! Advertise the waterboarding. Yeah, come waterboard me on TikTok. Yeah. I think Utah's our most interesting state. It's pretty weird. You know, it really captures the vibe. It's also beautiful. Utah's fucking beautiful. Like, if you've not been to Utah, southern Utah is, I'm pretty sure, one of the most beautiful places in the United States. The 2 most beautiful places in the United States to me are southern Utah and Yellowstone. That part of Yellowstone that looks like it's an alien planet, if you guys have seen that. Ugh, gorgeous. What should I read to get into your line of politics? You don't know anything to agree with it, but you agree with basically all my videos. Oh, cool. So I have actually an entry-level reading list in my Linktree, which is on my profiles for everything. So if you click there and you scroll down on my Linktree, you'll see resource docs, and one's an entry-level reading list, and it's actually pretty easy to get started. I start with some easy stuff. I start with like a pamphlet you could probably read in like 20 or 30 minutes to get you going on it. And go in order. I put them in order for a reason. Angel's here. Hi. Hydrating 1, hydrating 2, hydrating 3, hydrating 4, 5. Hydrating 5. I would say I knew I had left-wing politics when I was 13 years old, so I started pretty early. I was an anarchist, though, right? Read, I was a teenager. 2 more hydrates. Yes, the Linktree. Yes, good. I do think, part of me thinks I would have been a really good high school teacher. Like, I would have liked it, I think, but I would have been very upset, obviously, with the propaganda. So that's why I like putting together the reading list, because I'm like, it's kind of like a lesson plan, you know? So I'm happy that people like them. So yeah, whatever. Okay. Did we talk about anything that you guys were interested in today? We could pull up, somebody said on TikTok they want to talk more about Iran. We could pull up the Communist Party of Iran's statement on what's going on. Anarchist teen years are a rite of passage. You're right. We could see if Politico's banned me yet, if we can look at their news and see what's going on there. Let's talk about Saddam Hussein. We usually do current events on here, so we only really talk about history if it's relevant to what we're talking about right now. History of NATO is interesting. NATO could be relevant if Greenland continues to happen. That is so true. Bell998, hello. Are there any updates about Maduro? The people are still out in the streets demanding his return. There is an article, actually, here, look, I'm on Politico right now. There is an article that is about Maduro. How do you prosecute another country's president? That could be an interesting thing for us to look at. There's also abortion opponents threaten to withhold midterm support amongst riff with Trump. That could be a good domestic thing to talk about. Yeah, that could be interesting. Let's see what other top news we have. Oh, Trump threatens to invoke the Insurrection Act in Minnesota against protesters. I'm curious why people got banned for talking about ICE. Was it literally that they were showing people getting shot and killed and harmed? Because I could see that violating a terms of service. Or was it because they were just talking about it? Because the Twitch people told me that you can talk pretty much about anything left-wing that you want here. So I was curious. Yeah, poll at the top. Everybody do the poll. Do the poll. FEMA bipartisan meeting. Health policy outline. Blech. Oh my God. Look at this jump scare. My governor. Louisiana wants a California doctor extradited to face abortion charges. Newsom isn't having it. So this is what we mean when we're like, he's our psychopath. Like, sometimes you're like, yeah, you don't want to fuck with Newsom on that. He's so libbed up, man. That guy loves abortion and gay people. You can't take that from him. The one thing you can count on from this psycho right here is he will defend your right to have an abortion and be gay. You want a gay abortion? He'll probably perform it himself. Don't even ask if he's qualified. He'll do it for love of the game. You know? That's the kind of psycho he is. Greenland again. Okay, we'll look at Greenland again. This is our... You don't fuck with him on this. If you're trans, yeah, I wouldn't count on it. But if you're one of the good gays, he's all about it. Ignore the Matilda on, please. We have democracy here. Think you've always been a leftist? You just didn't know? I think that's true. Yeah. I'll give you a gay abortion myself, Gavin Newsom. You think this psycho is going to be president, right? We all know that. Like, this is going to be our president one day. We know that. We want to gay investigate Hazaldina Jackson Hinkle. I mean, it really was one of those things I had not encountered since junior high, where I was like, guys, at this point, methinks the lady doth protest too much, you know? Like, when you're obsessed with us, like, let it go, man. Oh, another hydrate. Okay. Oh my God, our elections have been tampered with. Stretch. Okay, I'll stretch. Stretch feels good. Do I have a shirt on? I do have a shirt on. Good. You always gotta check if you have a shirt on. You know, sometimes you sleep naked and you just go straight hoodie, and then next thing you know, your boobs are on the internet and you're banned from everything. Right? So that's why you gotta check. All gays here again. Hi, gays. All right. Oh, wow. Someone set up a camp right in front of the DHS office. I will say, I think that is a good political move to be like, you can't ignore it. It is wild, though. Homelessness is so bad. Okay, highlighted message from Laura Bro 191. How do you get over the fear America will always stay in an imperial state and hurt other countries, and socialist revolution seems so impossible because it's ruining your paranoia? Okay. Look, here's the things I always remember, right? A little pick me up before we get into it. Number one, if you ever believe a socialist revolution is impossible in the United States, remember, the CIA disagrees with you. The United States government is under the impression that not only is it possible, it is imminent, and they are terrified. Think about all of the money they invest trying to make us hate socialism and communism, trying to spread propaganda about it. They're terrified. When you look at those numbers that are like, let's see if we can find it really fast. What % of American youth favor socialism? Okay, this is going to be the Cato Institute. I'm pretty sure they're a libertarian think tank. Recent survey by the Cato Institute. These people don't want this to be true. They hate socialism. Okay, no, that's too weird. We'll just look at this. 62% of Americans aged 18 to 29 say they hold a favorable view of socialism. 34% say they hold a favorable view of communism. 1 in 3 Americans between the ages of 18 to 29 is like, you know what, I kind of fuck with this communism thing. That's wild. I never thought I would see those numbers in my lifetime, okay? This is picking up. And you know why? Just like Mark said, the contradictions of capitalism have no option but to get so extreme that people start seeking other alternative choices, right? It's getting so bad. And we're not excited it's getting bad. We wish these people would have woken up to socialism and communism a long time ago so we could skip the whole it's getting bad part. But they didn't, and that's the reality of how it goes. They have to wait until their material conditions are so bad that this is what happens. And we don't want to encourage that. But it just will happen inevitably. Like, it is what it is, whether we like it or not, right? We want people to be well. We don't want people to suffer. But as people continue to suffer because capitalism has no redeeming qualities, more and more people will be like, okay, yeah, this is just getting ridiculous. This system's fucking terrible. So hopefully we do our education because we want people to come around on that idea before it gets too horrible, but they're very, very resistant. So we do what we can. But this should be inspiring, right? This has increased so much in my lifetime alone. So this is good. Marxist Gamer Zero. Americans are so racist, white supremacist, anti-black, homophobic, etc. Which way do you think that we can get rid of asshole mentalities post-revolution? Will America need a cultural revolution? So what America will definitely need is mass re-education. I mean, education in general. We need education and re-education. Our education system here is so horrible. But fortunately, what we've learned from communist leaders in the past, vanguard parties in the past, is that one of the very first things they tackle is education in all forms. Literacy rates, obviously, we have abysmal literacy rates here. So number one, you tackle literacy rates, and that's so you can start talking to people about broader and more complex ideas and have them actually do reading. If we chucked Lenin's right to self-determination at the average American, they would be like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't understand this, right? They need literacy training first. So the very first thing that we do is we undertake literacy training. And from there, we start a process of general education. Political education goes along with that, right? So also, though, what we've seen is that places literally had to do targeted campaigns against bigotry and bias and prejudice. The one we have the most examples of is the woman question, right? This is the one I always reference. Maybe this is just what I know the most examples about because I find it interesting. But the thing you've probably heard me talk about before is that when North Korea wanted to solve the woman question and get women out of the house and put them in public spheres, right, they had to do this propaganda campaign to men to be like, hey, reminder, your wife is a comrade. Like, your wife's not a domestic servant. Your wife is like you, man. Your wife's a comrade. So they started this massive propaganda campaign to remind men that their wives were people. And they were like, yeah, you're going to have to sweep the house when you come home from work and you're tired. You know why? Because your wife also came home from work and she's tired too. And they started these kind of propaganda poster campaigns and flyering campaigns. And women were like, yeah, it's not perfect, but it is actually helping and things are getting better. So these are the types of educational things that have to be underdone. They have to be institutional education programs, they have to be propaganda-based programs, and they have to obviously be backed up with material support. So one of the ways that North Korea materially supported working on gender equality was to pretty immediately offer free childcare so that women could get out of the homes and enter the public sphere and have more of a political role and be more active in reading. Another thing we see too is that they tried to push people to join the parties, right? So after revolution, they're like, join a party, join a party, join a party, because in your party work, you can do more studying. So when we look at the average schedule of somebody in North Korea in particular, after the revolution, we saw that they were working normal hours. They were also doing party work after work. They were going and doing reading lessons. They were doing classes. And these are also obviously excellent opportunities for people to learn more, right? And kind of work on the chauvinism that they've inherited from previous systems, certainly, but also just general education that's been lacking under previous systems. I get really excited thinking about the educational opportunities, honestly. I think I agree with what Angel said here. Political education is very important because a lot of people would support socialist ideology if they knew what it actually was. And that's why I push back about all the negative propaganda about places that have been under Marxist-Leninist leadership, because I do think it's important that people know, like, they tell you this so you don't think you have other options. But when you look at what's actually going on there, you do have other options and they work and they're good. So, meh. First time chat, Alexa Vampire. Whenever there's a political issue and I think about it, a communist revolution would solve it because it'd be so great for the world. I get so frustrated we aren't close to revolution. That is so true. And that's like, I was on Twitter and I was like, people really try to misrepresent you about Iran in particular. When you're like, I would support a people's revolution in Iran, right? They want to overthrow their government. Their government's a theocratic, capitalist, government. They want to overthrow it and do socialism. I'm all for it. We don't support, obviously, is Israel and the United States staging a color revolution to put a king in there who's going to steal all their oil and further fuck up Iran for Iranians. That's what we don't support. And people want to misrepresent it and be like, so you love theocracy. You hate women. You want to oppress Iranian women under the theocracy. And you're like, bro, nobody said that. It's like bean soup. You're like bean souping it or whatever. But somebody commented and they were like, Americans need to be concerned with their own revolution first and foremost. Like, you have no right to talk about any other country's revolution if you're not doing it here at home working on it. And I was like, you know what, that makes sense. I understand why people have that mindset, because changing things in the United States politically changes everything for the whole world, because they're all subjected to our bullshit. You know? Oh yeah, they're always trying to misrepresent me. I'm like the boogeyman to liberals. Liberals are like, Madeline Pendleton, I better make up some bullshit they didn't say. It's fun. I just spit on my screen. That's how I did. I was like, yeah. Yeah, Trump is supporting the Iranian protest for a reason. Another thing I've started doing rhetorically that works is when people are like, but, I ask them, I go, just to clarify, are you saying you support Trump's foreign policy? Because a lot of these people are liberals. And when you word it that way, it gets them to be like, am I supporting Trump's foreign policy agenda? So that helps. Landlord died in a car crash. Oh, yeah, crazy subreddits about me. Insane. And the wild thing, too, is I'm like, dude, they're wrong. Like, I am me, so I know that they're wrong. So I'm like, you guys literally are just investing your time in misinformation, slop content that's not even real. Like, damn, that's pretty sad. I don't know. In my head, it'd be less sad if it was at least real. Like, if they dug up something really good, you know? But no. You know? Do I think North Korea will ever become LGBTQ friendly? I think they will. I think that we're seeing them enter a period of economic stability and growth for the first time in a long time. I think over the next 30 years, a lot's going to change. 20 to 30 years, I think a lot's going to change in North Korea. For the better. I think they're doing pretty okay. So that's good. They liked me when they thought I was one of them. Some of them managed to ignore my political content long enough because it didn't pop up on their For You page that they thought I was a liberal. And when they realized I was not one of them and I was not on their side, I think it instantly became very threatening to them. And they did not know how to respond to it. So, Oh, Rob gifted a sub. Yay. You've gifted 9 so far. That's so nice. We do have a really good gifting community of subs here. It's very, very nice. Thanks, everybody. Who's the best poll? With Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, and Kim Jong-un. It would be so fun. Oh, we could do that. That'd be cute. See, does advice in my book work for non-U.S. citizens? A lot of it won't, but some of it will. And I think the book's interesting to read, even if you're not. Fork is yelling to be led on the bed. Hold on. When Fork beckons, she wants to go back to bed. Hold on. And then we'll get started on more Greenland. We're going to do more Greenland stuff. What are you doing? I heard you whining out here. Did you want to go to bed, or were you whining so the cat would play with you? The cat's not going to play with you. Come on. Okay, false alarm. She was whining to try to get the cat to play with her. Cat said no. She's so funny. Okay. All right. Fine. No issues. Oh, Trump's billionaire buddy Lander and the Greenland issues. No. Maybe that's something we could look into. That sounds interesting to me. In 1986, Madeline cried all the time and couldn't read, walk, or talk. Madeline was unintelligent. New controversy. Baby. Do I think unity with a compatible left, excluding liberals, is possible? They maintain their ideology, because I do think it is a bit of an overgeneralization. Yeah, I mean, my org does work with Maoists, with Trotskyists, right? And yes, I do think that up to a certain point, it's fine for us to work together on our common goals and interests. My org also works with labor unions. And if you guys have dealt with labor unions, sometimes the politics of labor unions are fucked. Like, you'll get, like, the weirdest political takes from those guys. And sometimes you're like, okay, I guess we're doing this because we're in solidarity with this labor union. And, like, the labor union wants to do a 50-51, whatever that is, protest. Or, like, the labor union wants to do No King's Day. And you're like, okay, I guess we're going to work with you on that. Sure. It's very, very interesting. But that's what you do, because we are trying to build left unity out here in California. We really are, in particular. So, you know. Oh, now Fork's yelling. Great. A mad scene, thank you for the gift. Thank you. Long live the DPRK. First time chat, coming in strong. You're in the right place. 1986 is Zero's one. Yeah, there's a lot of... I don't understand how there's so many Trotskyists. That's what's wild. First of all, they have all the newspapers. They're doing all the newspapers. It's pretty interesting. No King's Day. Okay, here's the thing. No King's Day is a super liberal movement. Would I be interested in joining a Vanguard party? What do you think my role would be in that party? In the best possible conditions, I would want to literally do, like, education outreach sessions. Like, that's it. You know, I am in a party today. But that is something I would like to grow into. Kim Il Sung, I would have voted Kim Il Sung too, but Kim Jong Un's pretty good. Trotskyists are so active. I am so shocked there are so many of them, honestly, because I don't know. I just feel like I'm like, in the world, like, everybody's a Marxist-Leninist, right? Like China, like there's millions of Marxist-Leninists in China, right? Oh, you had no idea I streamed. Hi, welcome. Yeah, I just started. I'm new to it and I'm really liking it. It's very, very fun. And we have a good little system going on here. So yeah, I just feel like it should be fewer Trotskyists, but they're out there, man. They're out there and they're handing out newspapers and they're holding signs and they're active. Gotta hand it to them. So that's why I tell people, if you don't have a Marxist-Leninist org near you, fuck it, join a Trot org. You got recruited by a socialist group at a No Kings protest. You're a recovering liberal now. Okay, so back on the No Kings Day. Yes. So No Kings Day is a very liberal thing. Like, it's very, like, so a lot of them are corporate funded. A lot of them work with the police. But a lot of socialist orgs have started showing up and getting active and involved in No Kings Day and in 5051 because they are trying to recruit. Like, they are actively looking for people who are disaffected liberals, who are like, I'm a really progressive liberal. I want something better, but I don't understand why the Democratic Party isn't doing more. And that's exactly who socialist orgs are looking for at those events. So I think, like, the general population sees socialist orgs doing those types of things and is like, oh, so you're liberals too, but doesn't understand the internal strategy, which is that these people are still showing up unapologetically as communists, as socialists, right? They're just recruiting, and we need people to be recruiting. So I think a lot of problems people have with some socialist orgs today is that they think recruiting is cringe. And I get it. It can be cringe, right? But you also have to speak to people where they are. Like, do you want your commie club to be an in club where everybody talks like you and thinks like you and knows what's going on, which can be great. Don't get me wrong. I love it. It's nice. Or do you want to recruit? And those are two different things, right? So you don't go to a No Kings Day or a 5051, I don't know the name, because you're expecting to find like-minded people. You go because you're expecting to find people who don't fully agree with you yet, but probably could. And I think that's something important for us to keep in mind, right? So I'll tell you, whenever my org goes out to liberal events to recruit, I'm like, I don't know if I'm the right one for this. But nobody wants to do it. That's the thing. Nobody in my org is excited to go to those things. They're like, it's what we do. So she trusts me for sure newsy hats. You saw a communist say that Iraq wasn't imperialist in invading Kuwait because it was part of Iraq. Is that true? You know, that would probably be something historical. I wouldn't know enough about that, but I would be interested in seeing what Kuwaiti communists have to say about that. That's what I always do in the foreign policy thing, where I'm like, I don't have enough knowledge to make a judgment on that. And then I just defer to communists in that thing as my first shot at info. I'm like, what would they say about that? You know, when I say org, what I'm talking about is a socialist organization. So I think every socialist should join a socialist organization. Even if you don't know a lot already, even if you're not really sure, they'll usually teach you. They have classes, and I think that's important. So I don't say the name of the org that I'm in online because I don't want them to get harassed, because I get like harassed, I get doxxed, and I don't want to bring that energy to them. But I think everybody should join one. So I'm an org person. I think you should even join orgs I don't necessarily like. I think it's better than nothing. So I really encourage everybody to think about it. Okay, let's see. The PSL offers free Kenny classes. What's a Kenny class? Keny. What is that? To teach you about Marxism and labor movements and history. UK government has made a new TikTok purely dehumanizing immigrants, showing deportations and being objectively discussing, oh, they're going the Trump route. Oh, God. Okay, great. Germany said that kind of happened to them, and Canada after Trump's last thing. That's horrible. Yeah, being an org person is part of being a communist. Exactly. Oh, free candidacy. Oh, yeah. Free candidacy classes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. PSL does classes. I think every org does classes. I think they all do. And I know at People's Forum, they're affiliated with PSL. They're in New York. I've been there before. And they do meetings and stuff. And I think those are open to the public. So, yeah. How old do you have to be? I'm not sure. I did anarchist stuff when I was a teenager, and there was no age limit, obviously. But I'm not sure if there's youth, if any of the big tents have youth orgs. You're with Workers World? CPUSA. I've done, I used to be with CPUSA. I've done some, yeah, they are essentially a book club. Yeah, I've done some education stuff with CPUSA. I liked it. I was at CPUSA in the Bay Area, and we were even more active than other places, and it still wasn't a lot, but there was a lot of learning, you know. So, do I think that Juche would work in North America if we adopt the ideology? Not immediately, certainly, because we don't have an industrial manufacturing sector anymore. I tell people this all the time, they don't understand. I'm like, there are certain garments you cannot make in the United States because we do not have the technology to make them. We have relied on outsourcing so much of our technology that it would be a major quality of life adjustment for us to switch to a Juche ideology that was more based on self-reliance, because we are not self-reliant, right? We're a post-industrial economy. So it would take a lot for us to get there. We could ease our way into it, though, certainly. And obviously, we could still do trade. Trade is still a major part of it. It's not like you have to be totally self-sufficient, but our main export is speculative tech at this point. You know, like it's not great. So it would be hard for us. In North Korea, at least, they have tangible things they can export, right? Yeah, I have read. I've read the complete. Hold on, let me show you what I've read by Kim Il-sung. It might not be the complete works, but it's like a whole thing. Maybe it is the complete works. Fork is losing it over there. Yeah, this is what I read. It is the complete works. So I've read this, so I recommend this for anybody interested in Kim Il-sung. I like Kim Il-sung's writing. It has a nice little rhythm. Oh, we got a hype thing going. So I really do recommend this for anyone interested. There is a PDF. It's pretty easy. I'll type it in here. And it's his speeches too, which is cool. Here we go. Kim Il-sung. Oh, Kim Jong-il. Oh my God. No. I'm so sorry. I totally misread that. No. I haven't. That's why I was like, I don't recognize that name, but I've read this. Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il. No, I've actually never read any Kim Jong-il, like at all. Which is something I need to do. That's a total thing in my ideology that's a whole. And the reason why I was actually thinking I need to do this is because, you know, when you look at North Korea, their structure, they call it Kim Il-sungism and Kim Jong-ilism. Kim Jong-il did contribute to their ideology. Like, he did write theory, political theory, and I just have not read it. I haven't got around to it. So I'm so sorry. I read what I wanted to read. When you said that, I was like, Kim Il-sung, yeah, of course. I don't recognize that name, but I probably read it because I read the complete works. No, not that one. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. But yeah, no, I do recommend this for Kim Il-sung. Maybe today we could read a little bit from Kim Jong-il. That would be fun for all of us. But yeah, this has his speeches in it. This is a really good resource for anybody. I like it. Okay, so we're going to talk about Greenland. Maybe what we will do is try to pull up that thing that someone in the chat had mentioned about billionaire friend of Donald Trump. That story seemed interesting to me. Louder. The battle for Greenland. Okay, we've got a few articles I'm pulling up here. So many articles. Articles are wild. It's like, Forbes, these billionaires bet big on Greenland. Mother Jones, meet the guy who reportedly told Trump to buy Greenland. Oh, we've got an Israel National News. That's a good perspective for us to check out. Oh my God. Greenland, 4 hours ago. Holy shit. Okay, we got a bunch of stuff. All right. We got some Greenland stuff. All right, so we're going to do Greenland for definitely our foreign policy. If we have time, maybe we'll do a little Kim Jong-il reading and maybe a little bit of domestic something. We never really get to the domestic stuff, though, do we? Okay, so let's go. All right, this guy is a rich guy. You can tell because he looks like that. So, media literacy skills on point. Like, if you just showed me a picture of this guy and you were like, tell me 3 things about this guy, I would be like, rich, evil, old, right? That's what I would get from him. So, you can tell. He's got the look about him. He's got the real evil look about him, you know? Sometimes an old man can look cute. You're like, oh, look at him. I know his thoughts are probably awful in there, but look at him. This is not that. This is not that. That's not what's happening here. We can tell. The evil's radiating from his image, I think. Pretty bad. Probably on the flight logs. That's what this is telling us, yeah. All right, we can tell by his styling. Here. This is why I love clothes. You can tell a lot about a person by their clothes. Rich, old, good sugar daddy. Really our strongest soldiers out here. All right. So, how a billionaire with interest in Greenland encouraged Trump to acquire the territory. U.S. President's friend Ronald Lauder, who first proposed Arctic expansion, is now making deals in the island. So, if you're new to our Twitch stream, what we do is we pull up things that are in the news, we read through them, and we talk about them from a Marxist perspective and give a little historical relevance or analysis where necessary. Thank you, Virgo. Yeah, Lenin once criticized The Guardian as a populist newspaper for the bourgeois. Yeah, we don't read good sources. In fact, sometimes we read real fucked sources on purpose. Yesterday, we were looking at a whole bunch of Jerusalem Post and things like that. So yeah, we're looking at what the main news like narratives are, and we're deconstructing them basically. Yeah, Guardian's wild. So let's get into what the Guardian's saying about this. One day during his first term, Donald Trump summoned a top aide to discuss a new idea. Trump called me down to the Oval Office. John Bolton, National Security Advisor in 2018, told The Guardian. I'm like, John Bolton? I haven't heard that name in years. I forgot about that guy. He said a prominent businessman had just suggested the U.S. buy Greenland. It was an extraordinary proposal, and it originated from a longtime friend of the president, definitely on the flight logs, who would go on to acquire business interests in the Danish territory. Oh, hype train complete. We got an emote. Look at that. We got that. So the businessman Bolton learned was Ronald Lauder, heir to a makeup fortune, the global cosmetics brand Estee Lauder. He had known Trump, a fellow wealthy New Yorker, for more than 60 years. He is 855 years old. They've known each other forever. Okay. Bolton said he discussed the Greenland proposition with Lauder. After the billionaire's intervention, a White House team began to explore ways to increase U.S. sway in the vast Arctic territory controlled by Denmark. Trump's renewed pursuit of Lauder's idea during his second term is typical of how the president operates, Bolton said. Bits of information that he hears from friends, he takes them as truth, and you can't shake his opinion. Now, what's interesting to me is that everybody appears to be really wanting to go in on the Arctic, like, I'm sure Arctic mining, Arctic drilling, and it's interesting to think about how climate change is affecting that, right? With the melting of the ice caps, the Arctic topography is changing, its landscape is changing, and it's sinister to think about how climate destruction presents another opportunity for capitalist exploitation and profit. Oh my god, this Mark's Angel Bethers created? Wow. I love art. Okay, so their proposal seems to have stirred Trump's imperialist ambitions. 8 years on, he is mulling not just buying Greenland, but perhaps taking it by force. Yes, he is. Like many of those around the president, Lauder's policy suggestions appear to intersect with his business interests. As Trump has ratcheted up his threats to seize Greenland, Lauder has acquired commercial holdings there. Lauder is also part of the consortium whose desire to access Ukrainian minerals appears to have spurred Trump to demand a share of the war-torn country's resources. Of course. We're doing emote-only chat. Love. Lauder has said he met Trump in the 1960s when they went to the same prestigious business school. After working for the family cosmetics business, Lauder served under Ronald Reagan at the Pentagon. I bet he did. That you could tell. You could tell he was a special kind of evil. Then as ambassador to Austria before running unsuccessfully for mayor of New York in 1989. I gotta see this guy's 1989 mayor press. Hold on. We've gotta know. I must know. Oh, here he is. Ronald Lauder for mayor. He looks like a Republican. Got that look about him. I will say, as far as branding goes, the Republicans are pretty good at branding. I think the Democrats could serve their own interests better with a stronger brand image. The Republican primary for mayor this year has become a battle for the philosophical soul of our party. It's a campaign about Republican principles, the principles that made America great. Look at him. There he is, younger. Still 600 years old, but younger somehow. Actually, this guy in this picture is probably younger than I am right now. Like in 1989, I think this guy Oh, Lennon said that about The Economist, not The Guardian. That's okay. We took it as gospel, and now we will continue to say that about The Guardian. Just kidding. Yes, this is what you're saying about the Groucho liberal persona, right? The age weird. I really think this guy's younger than me in this picture. How old? No, let's see. When was Ronald Lauder born? So he's born 1944. So what, 1989? Don't make fun of me for Googling this right now. I can't. 45. Okay, all right, okay. He's 5 years older than me in that picture, all right? He's 5 years older than me. Where did he go? There he is. This is my peer. This is my peer. Wild. Tyler the Reach. Okay. So, yeah, he's running on the super conservative shit, blah, 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 blah. So in 1989, this guy was saying what he wants is freedom from government meddling in our individual lives. I wonder if he extends that to gay people. Fairer taxes and less wasteful spending. Tougher judges, mandatory sentencing, and the death penalty. He loves murdering the poors. Shocker. Greater rewards for hard work, ingenuity, and free enterprise. Schools that teach again and prepare our children for the challenges of adulthood. And end to drugs and the toughest sentences possible for those who deal in the death industry. What's he going to do about the CIA? He can't lock all the CIA up like that. What are they going to do? He needs them. So yeah, this is what he was running on. Okay, there we go. So that's that guy when he was running for mayor. Yeah, it really makes him... The death industry would be drug dealing. But not when the CIA does it. Only... when your neighbor who is poor and sold drugs like once to a guy for $20 does it, then it's the death industry. When the CIA does it, that's just a great American capitalism. When pharmaceutical companies do it, it's ingenuity that needs to be rewarded. Oh my God, Gustin is hell, you're killing me. The fork, buff fork, buff fork. Oh, the death industry, gender affirming care. Poor and not white. Exactly. How do you talk about the CIA without sounding crazy? I don't know. Everybody just thinks I'm crazy now. I have no idea. I've learned that if you go, I swear I'm not crazy, that doesn't help. But if you say, everybody wants to think this is a conspiracy, but like, what do they think these people's jobs are? Like, what? Like, that's okay-ish. Not great. I don't know. I'm not sure. Oh my God, the octopus. Wow. Yeah, this is our emotional support math. Yeah, all your friends think you're... People are just going to think you're crazy, and then it's just like a kooky personality trait. But when something weird happens in geopolitics, they come to you, and they're like, tell me everything you know about Ukraine. And I'm like, oh, well, how the tables have turned. So, you know. All right. So, when Trump won the presidency in 2016, Lauder donated $100K to the Trump Victory Fundraising Committee. When Trump's sanity was questioned in 2018, Lauder called him a man of incredible insight and intelligence. That same year, Lauder said he was assisting Trump with some of the most complex diplomatic challenges imaginable. This seems to have included sowing the idea of Arctic expansion. The following year, the Wall Street Journal revealed Trump's interest in Greenland. Denmark's rulers expressed outrage. Trump responded by tweeting an image of a golden Trump tower looming over a village beside the caption, "I promise not to do this to Greenland." He did this 2 days after my birthday. This guy. How is this fucking guy real? Like, what? This is psychotic. Okay. A treasure trove of rare earth minerals. There it is. Look how cute it is. Trump's fixation with Greenland endured, as did Lauder's. Last February, shortly after Trump returned to the White House, Lauder leapt to his defense when the president publicly contemplated a military takeover of the world's largest island. Trump's Greenland concept was never absurd. It was strategic, Lauder wrote in the New York Post. He went on, beneath its ice and rock lies a treasure trove of rare earth elements essential for AI. Oh my God. Advanced weaponry, make it stop, and modern technology. That's fine, I'll take that. As ice recedes, new maritime routes are emerging, reshaping global trade and securities. This is what I was afraid of. I'm like, oh my God, they're talking about how to profit from climate destruction. And they are. That is totally what they are doing. With Greenland at the epicenter of great power competition, Lauder argued the U.S. should seek a strategic partnership. He added, I have worked closely with Greenland's business and government leaders for years to develop strategic investments there. Since Lauder steered Trump's attention to Greenland in 2018, as first reported by U.S. journalists Peter Baker and Susan Glasser in their book The Divider, the cosmetics billionaire seems to have plowed lots of his own money into the Arctic territory. Danish corporate records show that a company with a New York address and unnamed owners has in recent months bought into Greenland. One of its ventures is exporting luxury spring water from an island in Baffin Bay. When a Danish newspaper reported in December that Lauder was among the investors, it quoted a Greenlandic businessman involved in the endeavor. Lauder and his colleagues in the investor group have a very good understanding of and access to the luxury market, he said. This group of investors is also reportedly seeking to generate hydroelectric power from Greenland's biggest lake for an aluminum smelter. It's unclear what effect a U.S. take... Anyway, it's unclear what a... Oh, I knew you guys were going to do it. I was like, oh my God, they're going to hydrate me. Okay. Where did we leave off? Oh yeah, here. It's unclear what effect a U.S. takeover of Greenland by invasion, purchase, or persuasion might have on Lauder's commercial interests there. Oh my God, here they come. Okay. Let's go. We got 10. We got 10 in. Hydrate or dehydrate. Real. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I'm drinking. I'm so hydrated. I'm going to look so young. I'm going to look 7 years old. Oh, one more. Okay. People are going to be like, how do you look so young on TikTok? And I'm going to be like, well, Twitch waterboards me. You should try that. It helps a lot. Okay. When you're 40, I thought you were 11. I know. They don't got it. All right. So, we're back to this. Following Trump's comments in the aftermath of sending troops to capture the ruler of Venezuela that the U.S. needed Greenland very badly, Denmark's prime minister warned that military action by one NATO member against another would break the alliance. So I also was thinking this about The Guardian because they're a UK rag, right? So they're probably pretty influenced by the idea of NATO, and they probably identify, even though they're not EU, still with the European world a little bit more than the U.S. So it's interesting to see them be so critical of Trump in a piece. Trump appears unmoved. We're going to be doing something with Greenland, he said last week, either the nice way or the more difficult way. After a White House meeting on Wednesday, the Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen said, we didn't manage to change the American position. It's clear that the president has this wish of conquering Greenland. The Republicans do love it when you look 7, let me tell you. A deal to exploit Ukraine's minerals. Lauder apparently... yeah, there they are. Look at them. Okay, Lauder's apparent involvement in shaping U.S. policy adds to mounting questions about conflicts of interest during Trump's second term and the apparent self-enrichment of those close to the president. Trump's 2 elder sons, Don Jr. and Eric, have been on a global money-making campaign from Vietnam to Gibraltar. They insist there is a huge wall between their business activities and their father's position as the most powerful man alive. Trump's spokesperson has said neither the president nor his family have ever engaged or will ever engage in conflicts of interest. But foreign rulers have facilitated the enrichment of the first family, while sometimes seemingly securing the president's favor. Lauder, though, appeared for a time to have broken this with an old friend. Also, what's interesting is that he didn't do this in Ukraine. He literally was using like business and money-making deals to, I guess it was kind of political. He basically told Zelensky that he would only give him aid if Zelensky agreed to like prosecute Joe Biden's son for something going on with oil company there or some shit. That was what the first impeachment trial was about. So it's like he's, whatever. But I guess that was all government money, but just to serve a personal need. So who knows? In 2022, while he was out of office, Trump hosted the far-right agitator Nick Fuentes at his Mar-a-Lago club. Lauder, who heads the World Jewish Congress, joined the condemnation. Nick Fuentes is a virulent anti-Semite and Holocaust denier, plain and simple, he said. It is inconceivable that anyone would associate with him. Also, I had never heard Nick Fuentes talk until recently, and I saw a video of him on Twitter, and I was so shocked. I remember I said something like, I did not expect him to look like somebody who would cry when I beat him in an arm wrestling match. Like, based on everything I've heard about this man, he looks like a disgruntled teenager. Like, I was shocked by this, who he is. But once Trump regained the White House, Lauder resumed financial support. In March 2025, he gave $5 million to MAGA Inc., a fundraising operation for Trump's movement. The following month, Lauder was reportedly among the guests at an exclusive candlelit dinner, so romantic, with the president. Tickets were $1 million each, payable to MAGA Inc. By then, Lauder's business interests once again appeared to be overlapping with the Trump administration policy. A leaked November 2023 letter sent by the head of TechMet, a mining company, to Zelensky, Ukraine's president, named Lauder as a part of a consortium hoping to exploit a lithium deposit in Ukraine. Right? That's what we want. Lauder said at the time that he had not discussed Ukrainian minerals with Trump himself, but had raised the issue with stakeholders in the U.S. and Ukraine for many years up to the present day. Leading Republicans joined a campaign for the U.S. to gain a hold on Ukraine's prodigious resources. Trump became its loudest proponent. Weeks after Lauder's MAGA Inc. donations, Washington and Kiev signed a deal to jointly exploit Ukraine's minerals. It went some way to preserving Trump's support for Ukraine following his televised Oval Office tirade against Zelensky for what he deemed insufficient gratitude for U.S. backing. The lithium deposit was the first to be tendered under the minerals deal. This month, the Lauder consortium reportedly won it. TechMet, the company leading the consortium, declined to comment, as did Lauder. His Greenland business partners and the White House did not respond when contacted by The Guardian. Okay. So, this is what is going on with The Guardian. And this is when we talk about Ukraine, we talk about all this shit. It's like, it's all fucking connected. Obviously, it's all the same thing. American imperialism wears many hats, but it is one bad guy. And, not the punished twink. Is that Fuentes? Are you guys talking about Fuentes? Because this is a good tarot card. I love this chat. I love the chat. I love you all, chat. So if you want to crowdfund leaving the U.S., I can probably get some Republicans to donate to it by rage baiting them. That would be funny. Maybe I could do a whole campaign. I could be like, you hate us being here. We hate being here. Sponsor a leftist leaving the United States today. That could be a funny one. Does anybody have any thoughts about this? Should we move on to the next perspective on this? Because the opinion about the rise of fascism in modern Italy, I haven't seen anything going on with that. I went to Italy actually last year for the first time. And I spent more than 7 days there, Aspen, and it was only a year ago, not 10. And shockingly, I'm not an expert on Italian politics from it. Who knew? Right? Wild. Maloney is horrible. Interesting. I need to look into this. So much to learn. Okay, so let's look at the next thing about this Greenland. This is behind the paywall, and I don't remember how to do it without the paywall. Aspen. Let's look at the Irish Times. You know what, guys? I don't know about the Irish Times, but I trust the Irish. Oh, Susie Izzard has a really good bit about Italian fashions. Oh, yeah? Oh, yes. I've seen it. Yes. I have seen the bit. It's like the ciao, right? Ciao. Okay, so let's hear what the Irish have to say about this. Probably going to check in with them. Did not disappoint. Wait. The battle for Greenland, the billionaires behind Donald Trump's obsession. Ronald Lauder, heir to Estee Lauder fortune, seems to have invested in a boutique water company based in a moldy former school. The Irish. Okay, DHS has invested $21 million into a project in your province, Canada, New Brunswick. Please search it up when you can. It's going to ruin our quality of life. Oh no. First time chat, Marissa Noel. I'm so sorry. DHS, 21 million, New Brunswick. That's on the docket to peruse. Oh. Okay, we're going to check that out. Thank you for sharing. Tone of the Irish Times. I really respect it. Oh my god, look at this football game. Between Karl Marx and Fork. Oh, it's so funny. Oh, this is great. Okay, I'm really loving this. Derek Scully really earned his liberal arts degree, you can tell. I love it. The squat wooden building's green paint is peeling. Its windows are boarded up, and all approaches are covered with pristine snowdrifts. One entrance has been decorated with penis graffiti. In another, where the door's window pane should be, 2 words are spray painted on chipboard. Fuck of. Sick. It's supposed to be fuck off. The building in Greenland's capital Nuuk has seen better days, but it might yet have a future. Company records suggest this is the official address of Greenland Water Bank, a boutique drinks company with a new co-owner, U.S. billionaire Ronald Lauder. This is from today. Okay. He is not just son and heir of cosmetics queen Estee Lauder. The 81-year-old lawyer is a close confidant of Donald Trump. And according to some, he is the one who put the Greenland flea in the president's ear. Trump's promise this week to take Greenland the easy way or the hard way, flagging unsubstantiated U.S. security concerns, has sparked outrage and unease in Nuuk, a semi-autonomous part of the Danish kingdom. Fuck of is killing me. The penis graffiti. Many living on this Arctic island, colonized 3 centuries ago by the Danes, fear a new era of economic colonization at the hands of American billionaires. Some, like tech investor Peter Thiel of PayPal and Palantir gay icons, dream of setting up a new post-nation-state settlement somewhere like Greenland. I didn't realize they wanted to do their like weird tech billionaire hellscape in Greenland. That actually, I could see Donald Trump just wanting to do that too, right? Like Disneyland for billionaires. Very interesting. Others dream of extracting valuable minerals from beneath the vast icy territory. Why not both? I think they want to do both. But what is Ronald Lauder up to? Atlas shrugged in Greenland. They're totally going to do it. And it'll probably get overrun by bears. If there's bears there, it's probably going to happen. Oh my God, we got a picture! Guys. We got a picture. It's beautiful. Do you think they'll show us the penis graffiti too? I don't think they'll show that one. I don't know. It's Ireland. They might give it to us. They know what we want to see. They know what the people want. Yeah, this is where my tenants live. They live in this store. I actually painted that on there as an improvement. And then I upped their rent $1,000 every month. So you're welcome. Now you live in an artsy loft in the city center. Release the bears. Adjacent to the abandoned green building, in fact, a complex of 4 similar shed-like structures, children are sledding down the hill overlooking the town. Oh, I think this is them in the background. What this lacks as a property, it makes up for with location, a clear view of Greenland's red Parliament building. It's an ideal lookout post for arriving ships in the harbor below. No pets allowed. An adjacent telecommunications mast and 2 white concrete domes with further communications antenna inside make this an ideal listening and transmission post. Walking around, 2 unusual things stand out. First, the apparently abandoned building is fitted with what looks like new security cameras and small glass domes. Second, footsteps in the snowdrifts leading toward one locked graffiti door suggest someone has been inside recently. A local Nook man who would rather not be named says the school was closed years ago. It was riddled with black mold, then the heating gave up the ghost. People who'd been inside kept complaining about how they felt afterwards. They got sore throats and headaches, the man remembers. Inside now, the walls and ceilings are sealed in plastic wrap to contain the mold. A boutique water company in a moldy former school, co-owned by a U.S. cosmetics billionaire? Across the road, kitchen staff in an older people's home say they have never heard of Greenland Water Bank or Ronald Lauder. But security analysts in Copenhagen have. They doubt Lauder's investment is motivated by quick profit. After nearly a decade in business, company records show Danish Water Bank remains firmly in the red, though clearly not from renovating its corporate headquarters. It is likely Lauder, who was approached for comment, sees less value in glacial meltwater than his new local business partners, prominent politicians turned investors, Sven Hardenberg and Jørgen Waver Johansen. Hardenberg was, until a decade ago, an influential prime ministerial aide until he was fired. He then headed a national energy company. Judging from local headlines, controversy has followed him throughout his career. Fans of the hit Danish television series Borgen might remember him as a fictional Greenland minister for mineral resources and foreign affairs. Has anybody heard of this TV show? Is this actually a hit TV show? Borgen? Anyone in the chat know about Borgen? I don't know about it. I don't know what a hit show that was. You watched it! Oh, first time chatter. Doberger. Yay, okay. Any Danes? No. No. Yeah. Ghost in this hell is good at managing trolls. Troll manager. Okay. His business partner Johansson, meanwhile, is a local branch head of Noxia Party and married to Greenland's actual Minister for Foreign Affairs, Vivian Motsvedt. Even before the latest round of tensions with Washington, Johansson was an outspoken cheerleader of the U.S. president, saying the world's attention was Greenland's moment. The world's eyes are on us. We shouldn't fool ourselves into thinking it will last, he told Denmark's Berlingske newspaper last March. Now we need to make the best of it. At the same time last year, Lauder described Trump's Greenland ambitions as never absurd. It was strategic. We heard that one, yeah. Greenland was, as he put it, America's next frontier, a nod to the settling of the so-called Wild West. As well as the water company, Lauder and his investment partners have expressed an interest in bidding to build a hydroelectric dam on Greenland's largest lake. Their Greenland investment group has a new chief executive in Josette Sheeran, a former U.S. Deputy Secretary of State to Condoleezza Rice, an ex-director of the World Food Program. She did not respond for requests to comment. Girl bossing. Welcome, Ira77. I hope work was okay. Asked by Denmark's Politiken newspaper last month about the Lauder investment in Greenland, she pushed her new water product instead. I'm proud to help share this natural gift with the world in a way that strengthens Greenland and its people, she said. For Danish security analyst Rasmus Sindig Sondergaard, the investment appears part of Ronald Lauder's wider investment strategy as major donor to Trump's Republican Party. Is somebody going to type the Nazis.us thing? Somebody can do it. I'm not going to do it on here. What if it crashes my computer? Oh, Comrade Lilith listening at work. The ultimate tool of radicalization. Is it so funny? Should I do it? Buckfast Super Nose. It's a redirect. Oh, it does? Okay, I'm going to do it. Hold on. Yeah, Condoleezza Rice is a psychopath also. Oh, did I do it wrong? Is it not US? .us? Oh, no, it worked. Love it. I know a furry did this. I know a communist furry did that. Yeah, that has the markings of a comrade furry comrade. Okay. For Danish security analysts, oh yeah, we did this, blah, blah, blah. The investment appears to be part of Ronald Lauder's wider investment strategy as a major donor to Trump's Republican Party. Having a business partner whose wife is Greenland's foreign minister, Sondergaard says, does not mean Lauder will gain any political influence from the investment. Okay. Sondergaard adds, but Lauder has actively advocated for Greenland to become a part of the United States. Lauder and Trump have known each other for decades and both attended the same Philadelphia law school. All of this we've kind of heard before. Digital rights researcher Signe Raven Hogard of Copenhagen's digital infrastructure think tank says Greenland's small population of just 56,000. That is so small. That is wild. That is 10% of my hometown of Fresno, California. U.S. is taking Iran to UN for human rights to UN meeting, 3 p.m. USA. Okay. Iranian socialists, thank you for sharing. 3 p.m. Eastern, 3, 2, 1, 12. It's 12, right? 12. Yeah, 12. I always get the times. We cool with furries? Yeah, we like furries here. What is your political opinion of furry catboy yaoi gooners? Conflicted. Conflicted. Yeah, every time a commie accidentally gets wealthy, they're like, yes, I'm a furry now. And that's how you know I'm not actually rich. No evidence of furry activity on the internet. Okay? So, checkmate, liberals. Checkmate. All right, so Marx might have failed to actually consider furries. This might be true, unless it's a form of commodity fetishism. Oh, you grew up in a 20K town. Wow. All right. He says a reliance on U.S. platforms like Facebook over traditional media would make it much easier to subtly shift the discourse than to run overt disinformation campaigns. Because remember, they talked about this yesterday. They want to do that. UN Security Council discussed Iran's deadly protests after U.S. request from AP News. We'll pull that up, too. We'll see what we get through here. Furry femboy Trotskyists. I'm really glad you highlighted that message because I think it was important and deserved it. And I respect that highlight. No, I didn't see that New York Times opinion piece where they asked 11 Republicans on how Trump has done until now. How did they do? So smart, Pickle Inspector. You're going to convert him. I know it. We have a strong allegiance with the furry community. We do. We do. The ideal human in this era that you could be, I am convinced, trans, furry, communist. It's like, you will never hear a bad take from a trans, furry communist. I follow many on Twitter. I've never seen a bad take out of these people yet. They are so good. Oh, you got your first hate DM. I know you were trying to troll liberals, Child of Reach, so I'm really happy for you. This is a big moment for you. Furry femboy Trotsky is forced to wear Newsies hats. I think that's important. We need to do that. Just a trans communist? Well, you know what? There's still time. Anti-material girl. You can live your furry persona, out in the future. It's possible. Anything's possible. You're almost there, though. So you're doing great. Is that a pipeline because you're trans and a commie? We'll see. I'm just saying. I've never seen a bad take from a trans communist furry. Like, ever. Like, I've never seen, you know how sometimes you see like a series of symbols next to each other, next to somebody's name, and you're like, I know the take's going to be bad. Like, I can just tell based on the combination of flags and emojis, this is going to be a bad take. Anytime I see like trans pride flag, and then like their user image, like their PFP, right, is like a fox or something, right? And then there's a hammer and sickle. I'm like, the take's going to be lit. The take's going to be, and it's right. It's so right. Okay, so back to Denmark. All right. Asked by a local Nuke newspaper last month about Ronald Lauder, Johansson said, I think someone is trying to make something out of nothing. Others aren't so sure, though. In advance of Wednesday's talks in Washington, his foreign minister wife, Vivian Motzfeldt, asked Danish broadcaster DR, what would be wrong with us holding meetings in the U.S. alone? That caused alarm in Copenhagen, as such meetings would breach Greenland's agreements that leave foreign policy with Denmark. Okay, and maybe that's a verbiage convention that's more common in Ireland. As the geopolitical tug-of-war of the island continues, both Greenlanders and Danes remain alert to U.S. interests on the island and their local helpers. We should not be naive, said Mark Jacobson, associate professor at the Institute for Strategy and War Studies at the Royal Danish Defence College. Whether these investments ultimately prove profitable is of secondary importance. What matters more is gaining access to the Greenlandic elite and shaping the narrative that the U.S. is a better partner than Denmark. All right, so that's what the Irish are saying. Now, Mother Jones, which is Gen X progressive liberal rag, has an article about this too by Sophie Hurwitz. Manifest Destiny met luxury cosmetics when makeup billionaire and Republican donor Ronald Lauder mentioned buying Greenland to the president. They also, this is an interesting topic added here. Since we've read a lot about this, I'm just going to point out key interesting things that are mentioned here. Greenland also holds vast oil reserves on top of mineral reserves. So that's pretty interesting. It's currently an autonomous territory of the Kingdom of Denmark, and in 1867, Secretary of State William H. Seward planned to purchase Greenland, but the deal fell apart. And in 1946, President Harry S. Truman tried to buy it for $100 million, but he failed too. So I actually wasn't aware that we had this backstory in the United States of trying to buy Greenland. We're obsessed with buying Greenland, apparently. The most recent attempt at grabbing Greenland came in President Donald Trump's first term of office. We talked about that from his friend and their relationship. Okay. Trump told Baker and Glasser, the authors of that book we talked about earlier, in 2021, the idea was not so different from his own approach to real estate development in New York City. I said, why don't we have that? You take a look at a map. I'm a real estate developer. I look at a corner, I say, I've got to get that store for that building that I'm building, Trump explained. I love maps, the president continued. As I always said, look at the size of this. It's massive. That should be part of the United States. So interesting. Okay, that's a pretty interesting quote added in here. And both Democratic and Republican leaders have cast Greenland as potentially critical to national security in a warming world. The island hosted American nuclear weapon storage during the Cold War and is located on the shortest air route between the continental U.S. and Russia. And while its rare earth mineral deposits are notoriously difficult and expensive to access, that hasn't stopped American leaders from eyeing them. In Trump's case, the initial motivation may have been the whim of a cosmetics billionaire. We talked about that. But this is very interesting. It has to do with Russia bad, obviously. That's interesting. Madeline, how do you respond to the allegations that you have an eye? Caught. I don't know. All right. What else do we have? We got Realpolitik, kind of boring, not that interesting. All right. Mother Jones not coming in with any hits here. Forbes. The Forbes article about this as well. This appears to be the same kind of thing, except we know OpenAI CEO invested in 2022. That seems relevant, actually, because they talked about how there's... Fork, where are you going? Fork, come here. Fork, come here. There's no reason for you to be going in that room. Come on. She doesn't listen. Fork, come here. Come on. Come on. No. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. I caught her sneaking into my partner's room that they play music in. Fork. And she just like stopped, but like didn't look back at me and just like froze. And now she just walked back in the living room. Okay. I'm like, there's no reason for her to be in there. So yeah, this seems relevant because they talked about how there's certain rare minerals there, right, that are useful in AI. So we've got AI developing, being relevant in this as well. Oh my God, this website's Israel National. I was like, why is this the worst looking website I've ever seen? Of course, it's fucking Israel. Shit ass website, shit ass country. All right, this makes sense. Oh, this Israel National News is talking about how Ronald Lauder is Jewish. Okay. Let's see if they think that has anything to do with Israel. No, this is the craziest website I have ever fucking seen in my life, though. Can we just take a second to appreciate how batshit insane this website is? Like, this is crazy. Like, this is Snoop Dogg? Erectile dysfunction treatments? Chickens? 12 dumbest things middle-class Americans waste money on? It's a bunch of chickens? Like, this is a crazy-looking website. Wow. Okay. All right, Israel National News. Get me out of there. IQ test, the Economic Times. This is capitalism, by the way. This is like the equivalent of driving down an interstate in the middle of nowhere and there's like truck stops on the side of the road in the United States and there's just billboards screaming at you. Like, we created that on the internet somehow. Absolutely. What was the poll? Oh my God, what is it? What one? For soda? Stalin soda's not a furry, even. What animal would Stalin be? Honey badger is good, though, because Fork would hunt me. She's bred for that. I'm sure somebody knew. Shitification of the internet for real. Fork Sona toxic. That's where I become Stalin. Stalin is a bear. Stalin would be a bear. I can kind of see that, actually. Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, no, this is fucking crazy what's going on the internet. Let's see. Anything more interesting? No. Okay, all right. So that's what's going on with Greenland. We don't have anything new. Fork probably sees a squirrel again. Okay, the only new thing, this is from 2 days ago that we haven't covered yet, is U.S. officials saying Greenland action could come within weeks or months. So that's pretty soon. Oh yeah, we had this picture pulled up. All right. Fork's yelling, so I'm going to put it on the Fork screensaver, and I'm going to be right back in like 2 seconds, and then we're going to move to our next topic. Okay, here you guys get a little Fork sighting. I don't even know what she was yelling at, honestly. I didn't even see it. It was probably a squirrel. Yeah, were you yelling at a squirrel? Yeah, I know you were. Yeah, I know. She's so cute. She's like such good baby. I love her. She's been really, really sweet lately, too. Sometimes she's, like, really feisty and hard to control, but lately she's been, like, very, very sweetheart. This is her, Ghost in the Cell buff Fork. Yes, Fork is about to turn 4 in a couple months. I got her, like, the day before, I think, her first birthday. Yes. because she was too bad. She was too bad for another person. We're going to take her collar off. It's too big. Yeah, I honestly do agree, Autistic Baddie 3, that Donald Trump is just trying to invade as many countries as possible before he dies. I think he's literally treating it like a game of Civ, and he's like, what can I acquire? Yeah, Fork is baby. Yeah, Fork was too bad. And she is very bad. It's so true. My last partner was like, you guys have a toxic relationship. Because she's like obsessed with me also, but it makes her crazy. So we do have a toxic bond. And she is very, very high maintenance, which means my whole life revolves around her. So in times when I should have a break and be like, oh, thank God, I don't have to take care of Fork, I pretty instantly start missing her absurdly because I'm like so used to her presence being a constant. Oh, here we go. As an Ecuadorian, I'm running for city office back home. I'm going to stop Trump from spreading his MAGA disease to our city. Yay, good. We need that. Yay, yay, yay. Yeah, Fork is the people's dog. Yes. So yeah, we have a toxic bond. Netanyahu personally asked President Donald Trump to hold off on a U.S. military attack on Iran, according to the New York Times. Okay, we're going to look into that. I think this is what we should talk about now. All right, Fork, do you want to be free? Okay, go free. Go be free. Go girl. All right, so we're going to check out the latest in Iran news. And we have some updates from an hour ago and 25 minutes ago. 5 hours ago. 2 hours ago. All right. And I want to look up this other thing Iranian socialist said about Netanyahu. I'm going to see if anything we can look at comes up for this. 47 minutes ago, New York Times. I need to get a New York Times subscription again, I think. Ugh. Jerusalem Post. We're going to look at Jerusalem Post. This is going to be good. It's going to be interesting. This is horrible. Okay. Let's see what's going on. I miss Fork, too. She disappeared. She bork leave. All right. Jerusalem Post. Prime Minister Netanyahu asked Trump to hold off on an Iran attack. The report came after the U.S. appeared to shift towards diplomatic means of pressure to stop the Iranian crackdown on protesters. You keep calling him Nosferatu. You're so correct. They're trying to Hawaii Greenland. Yeah, they are. They really, really, really are. Oh, you just asked for some source and they said common sense. This is what happens. Yeah. I'm really happy that you and your golden retriever have such a perfect relationship. Fork and I do have a toxic bond. My current partner is like, I've never seen this relationship between a person and an animal before, and I was like, it's a lot. It's a lot. But I do love her. My partner's like, I don't think anybody else would take care of this dog except for you, so she needed you, which I like. Toxic bond. Oh, remember, I don't need accurate sources? I totally remember that person in here. What is the difference between a work camp and a regular U.S. prison? Great question. Alexa Vampire, let me know if someone tells you. Yeah, Fork is going to successfully lead the Marxist-Leninist revolution just to abandon her post and live in an autonomous zone. She would. That's her energy. I'm telling you. Tungsten Mine DHS invested in. Oh, thank you. Okay. I'll have to look. Thank you. Through your public library. I do have a public library card. I'm going to look at that. Yeah. All right. So, Prime Minister Netanyahu personally asked U.S. President Donald Trump to hold off on a U.S. military attack on Iran, the New York Times reported on Thursday, citing an anonymous senior U.S. official. The two leaders reportedly held a call on Wednesday. Notably, that same day, Trump claimed that he had received information from very important sources on the other side that Iran had stopped killing dissidents. Trump reportedly decided not to intervene later that day, despite international media reports which indicated that U.S. military action was imminent. The New York Times report came after the U.S. appeared to shift towards diplomatic means of pressure to stop the Iranian crackdown on anti-regime protesters. The White House and the Prime Minister's office did not respond to the New York Times request to comment. Okay, so that's basically just a summary of the New York Times article. Great. AP, the latest. This is from 9 a.m. my time, so an hour and a half ago. And this says the latest UN Security Council to discuss Iran's deadly protests after U.S. request. The UN Security Council scheduled an emergency meeting Thursday to discuss Iran's deadly protests at the request of the United States, even as President Donald Trump left unclear what actions he would take against the Islamic State. And again, you guys know we have disproportionate influence and control over the UN. The UN has long been used as a tool of Western imperialism. Tehran appeared to make conciliatory statements in an effort to defuse the situation after Trump threatened to take action to stop further killing protesters, including the execution of anyone detained in Tehran's bloody crackdown on nationwide protests. Iran's crackdown on the demonstrations has killed at least 2,615 people. The U.S.-based human rights activist news agency reported. Remember, we looked at them yesterday. They are funded by the National Endowment for Democracy, which is funded by Congress. So that is a U.S.-funded group. Again, my assessment is that we are confident people have died. The death toll has vacillated so wildly from 400 people, 500 people to 12,000 people. Somebody said they saw somebody reporting 20,000 people. So it's obviously being highly politicized, a death toll. We also don't know what proportion of that is civilians versus Iranian officials versus literal Mossad agents who have bragged about being on the ground there as well. Little chat break. The libs keep repeating quality of life is still better in South Korea than North Korea. How can I reply to this? You're not good at debates. I ask what they mean by that. Like, what to them is a good quality of life. Ask them to quantify that and look at what you can quantify. So you heard 20K from CNN. Okay, yeah, see, I've seen some people see that as well. So very, very wild. These numbers are just flying around. China and Russia both also have veto power in the UN Security Council, yes. How come they don't veto a lot of shit they should be? Is it just something that irks you? Yeah, so China's big thing is they are actively trying not to go to war with the United States. China doesn't want a war. China never wants a war. China just wants to... everything comes down to Civ in my mind right now. I'm so sorry. But if you've ever played Civ, like, China's going for the culture and science victory, right? They just want to be left alone. They just want to build, work on their infrastructure, do their little thing. They don't want to get carried into a war. A war is distracting. A war is a waste of resources. They're not interested in that. So I think China really views the United States as a loose cannon, and it's like anything we can do to avoid war with these psychopaths is going to be good for us, and it's going to be good for the world. Russia has its hands full with Ukraine right now, and Russia is in the middle of a complex series of negotiations with the United States. I am guessing part of Russia not getting involved in Venezuela, this is pure speculation on my end, I am guessing that it had something to do with Ukraine negotiations. That it would somehow be favorable in the negotiation process over Ukraine if they agreed to not intervene in Venezuela, because in 2019, Russia did intervene in Venezuela when we tried to overthrow the country in 2019. Russia's the reason we didn't. So I'm guessing it just has to do with complex negotiations and picking and choosing what battles. I said, in what way? Literacy, life expectancy, access to healthcare, housing, etc. And he said, all of it. Well, we know definitely not for housing and healthcare and literacy rates and education. So you can be like, well, quantifiably, we know people have better access to housing and healthcare and education in North Korea. It's free. It's all free access. We also know their literacy rates are higher. Their literacy rates are like 100% in North Korea. South Korea doesn't have that. Life expectancy could be better. It could be higher life expectancy in South Korea. Life expectancy in DPRK in 2021 was like 73 years old. Okay. And South Korea's is 84. So South Korea does have a higher life expectancy. So I think that's it. So I think that's the only thing they win in. Good quality of life, having 25 types of Funko Pops. Yeah, totally. You only go for religious wins in Civ? I like that. The Civ 7 does not have a religious victory. It also does not have a tourism victory. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. All right, so getting back to this. So basically, these numbers that we're talking about here are these 2,600 people dead. We don't know if that's accurate, right? They're reporting this like it's accurate. We actually have no idea. They say U.S.-based human rights activists, but they also don't say it's U.S.-funded, which I think reads different. If you read, has killed at least 2,600, the U.S.-funded human rights activist news agency reported, that kind of changes how you read it, right? And that's the way subtle propaganda works. Civ 7 is ass. I thought it was ass too for a long time, and then I was like, fine, I'll play it. I paid for it, whatever. And then I ended up getting super addicted to it. But I resisted it for like 6 months. So I get it. Yeah, Civ 6 and 5 are both really good. So, the death toll exceeds any other round of protests or unrest in Iran in decades and recalls the chaos surrounding the country's 1979 Islamic Revolution. They also do not point out what the Islamic Revolution was, right? Very interesting. The Islamic Revolution was them expelling the Americans from their country. Yeah, we're talking about civilization, yeah. The sound of gunfire faded Thursday in the capital. The country closed its airspace to commercial flights for hours without explanation early Thursday, and some personnel at key U.S. military base in Qatar were advised to evacuate. The U.S. Embassy in Kuwait also ordered its personnel to temporarily halt travel to multiple military bases in the small Gulf Arab country. Here's the latest. Abdul Malik al-Houthi, the leader of the Iran-backed Yemeni rebel group, said on Thursday that criminal gangs were responsible for the situation in Iran, accusing them of carrying out an American-Israeli scheme. And again, we do know this is not a lie. Israel has been talking about this. We do also know, though, there are Marxists there on the ground who are like, people are mad. This is an opportunity. There are average everyday people participating in what's going on too. There's a wide range of political opinion being held by protesters, but we know that the United States and Israel are attempting to co-opt this and use it basically to stage a color revolution there. Oh, posture check and hydrate. And a stretch. Oof. Yeah, sometimes I'll do a fascism ideology and my partner will not let it go. Just harasses me the whole rest of the game. And I'm like, I need it to do my win. And my partner's like, Madeline is trying fascism. Madeline is trying fascism. Over and over and over again. It's so funny. Civ is fun. I love it. It's like old school online game shit. I don't know. I like it. Okay, so what we're reading right now is AP News article that just came out. The latest UN Security Council to discuss Iran's deadly protests after U.S. request. But again, we don't actually know how deadly it is. The numbers they're quoting are from a U.S.-funded NGO, funded by Congress, basically through the National Endowment for Democracy. And this idea that it's an American-Israeli scheme, that is accurate. We have evidence concretely that the United States and Israel are backing these protests and that Israel is actively participating in them. And we also know, we talked about this, these protests aren't peaceful. There are literal people lighting mosques on fire with children inside of them. And I'm sorry, I have a hard time believing that those are average Iranian people. Even if they want a secular state and they're opposing theocracy, I don't think they're going to light mosques on fire with children inside of them in their country. That feels very Mossad Israel coded to me. Somebody give Lavenda Lovely what Civ is. So, yeah, getting into this, criminal gangs in Iran killed Iranian citizens, security forces, and burned mosques, he said, without providing evidence. We have evidence of this, actually. We have evidence of this. It's been posted all over the internet. It's very public. What's being committed by criminal gangs in Iran is horrific. I guess criminal gangs, it's not proven, but that also could just be a descriptor. They are breaking the law, and they are groups of people working together in an organized fashion. Bearing an American stamp as it includes slaughter and burning some people alive. And we see actually there is a precedent for this. The U.S.-backed far-right extremist protests in Venezuela, they burned a ton of people alive. That is a marker of a U.S.-backed protest movement. He also said that the U.S. imposed economic sanctions on Iran to create a crisis leading to the current issues in the country with the end goal of controlling Iran. That is also accurate. Yet he said the U.S. has failed in Iran and that Iranians will not yield to America. I think that is also true. So, the EU is considering stronger sanctions against Iran. This is just going to hurt the Iranian people even more, as we know. The president of the EU's executive arm, since the 27-member bloc, is looking to strengthen sanctions against Iran as ordinary Iranians continue their protests against Iran's theocratic government. And it is true that Iranians want a more secular government. That is true. And again, it is true that there are Marxist-Leninists there that are hoping to move this into a people's rebellion against capitalism in general. And I think what we'll do afterwards is we'll read the main communist party in Iran, what their statement is about this after as well. Americans would be an illegal gang, yes. And in Israel, Mossad is there. We know Mossad is there. They talk about how they're there. They're bragging about being involved in this. So Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said Thursday, following a meeting of the EU's commissioners in Limassol, Cyprus, that current sanctions against Iran are weakening the regime. They're also killing people in the country. We know sanctions kill people. Von der Leyen says that the EU is looking to sanction individual Iranians apart from those who belong to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, who are, quote, responsible for the atrocities. She added that the people of Iran who are bravely fighting for a change have the EU's full political support. This is also not true, because if they fought for a Marxist-Leninist change, they would not have the full support of the EU. They only have the full support of the EU as long as, they're doing the Israeli-American version of acceptable regime change. One Canadian among those who died in Iran, Canada's foreign ministry says a Canadian citizen has died in Iran at the hands of the Iranian authorities. Peaceful protests by the Iranian people, they're not peaceful. Maybe the Iranian people, the everyday people, are doing peaceful protests, but the Mossad agents running through the streets with guns, lighting things on fire, certainly aren't peaceful. And that's the confusion that happens. Somebody in the chat yesterday asked if it was similar to what happened at Tiananmen Square, and I think that's the best analogy I've seen so far. So for anybody who doesn't know, Tiananmen Square, there were legitimate student protests, and then they were co-opted by a National Endowment CIA-backed coup attempt that attempted to glob onto the protests, totally shifted what they were, and tried to turn them into a color revolution. And that's kind of what it sounds like here. They said peaceful protests by the Iranian people, we know violence did occur, asking that their voices be heard in the face of the Iranian regime's repression and ongoing human rights violations, has led the regime to flagrantly disregard human life. Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand posted on social media Thursday. This violence must end. Canada condemns and calls for an immediate end to the Iranian regime's violence. Anand said consular officials are in contact with the victim's family in Canada, and she did not provide details. International Red Cross says a staff member was killed during Iran protests. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies announced Thursday that a local staff member was killed and several others were wounded during the deadly protests in Iran over the weekend. Amir Ali Latifi, an Iranian Red Crescent Society worker, was working in the country's Gilan province on January 10th when he was killed in the line of duty. Iranian regime TV is saying Zionist plot destroyed, U.S. retreats, Iran regime victory. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I kind of believe them, but I'm not sure because there's so much conflicting information. If Donald Trump is asking Netanyahu to stop and to not, no, Netanyahu's asking Donald Trump to hold off, right? I wonder if perhaps secretly Israel and Iran reach some sort of agreement or negotiation that both don't feel comfortable admitting to their people or something like that. It's very interesting. Okay, Trump hails good news on arrested Iranian shopkeeper. I'm getting ad blocker propaganda in the chat. I know I need to do it. I understand. I will forget as soon as I close this chat, and I will not remember again until tomorrow when you all tell me again. Most people in Iran are saying this is a psyop and the United States will attack. This is, that makes sense too, yeah. Israel tested a nuclear weapon today. Great. Okay, great. This is wild. So, U.S. President Donald Trump has hailed as good news reports that the death sentence has been lifted for an Iranian shopkeeper arrested in a violent crackdown on protests. Relatives of 26-year-old Irfan Soltani said he faced imminent execution. Trump posted Thursday on his Truth Social site, posted probably. Fox News, Iranian protester will no longer be sentenced to death after President Trump's warnings. Likewise, others. This is good news. Hopefully it will continue. Iranian state media denied Soltani had been condemned to death. Iranian judicial authorities said Soltani was being held in a detention facility outside of the capital. I think that's probably true. Probably he wasn't actually, and this is just a propaganda thing if I had to guess. Alongside other protesters, he's been accused of propaganda activities against the regime, state media said. Trump said tension soaring this week by pledging that help is on its way to Iranian protesters and urging them to continue demonstrating against authorities in the Islamic Republic. So this is what we mean when we say, we know these are U.S. backed. This is the same thing the United States did during the Hungarian Revolution with Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty. The only difference is that Israel is also saying, we are actively here beside you, fighting, walking down the street with you. On Wednesday, Trump signaled a possible de-escalation, saying he'd been told that the killing in Iran is stopping. So they're talking about more sanctions. China's foreign minister Wang Yi has spoken with his counterpart in Iran, who said the situation was now stable. And Abbas Araghchi said he hoped China will play a greater role in regional peace and stability during the talks, according to the statement from the ministry. China opposes imposing its will on other countries and opposes a return to the law of the jungle, Wang said. So this is China's whole policy. They're a little bit more isolationist. They're more like, we got our shit going on. We're reading about China right now. And they're not going to be world police, right? They're not going to fall down the same trap, basically, that the USSR did for a long time, where, the USSR was, so much of its resources were dedicated towards other countries and international issues. You can really tell China's like, we're focused on us. Like, we'll do what we can diplomatically. But this is what I mean when I'm like, China's really trying to avoid war. China believes that the Iranian government and people will unite, overcome difficulties, maintain national stability, and safeguard their legitimate rights and interests, he added. China hopes all parties will cherish peace, exercise restraint, and resolve differences through dialogue. China is willing to play a constructive role in this regard. So they're willing to do diplomatic stuff, right? So Turkey says it's opposed to any foreign military intervention in Iran. They said that we are against military intervention in Iran. Iran must address its own internal problems. They must address their problems with the region and in global terms through diplomacy so that certain structural problems that cause economic problems can be addressed. Okay, but that's our sanctions are really messing them up economically as well. So, Iranians mostly absent from annual religious rituals in Iraq, which is interesting. They obviously have other stuff going on in their country. And Lufthansa has halted night flights to and from Tel Aviv and Amman. I'm kind of surprised they were still doing them. That's probably good because there is a history in these types of situations of military accidentally shooting down passenger aircrafts. That's something that happens a lot in heightened tensions like this. So that's smart. Meanwhile, state media denies man arrested during recent protests was condemned to death. Oh, they just posted this again. We already saw that. And New Zealand says it is appalled with the Iran situation, appalled by the escalation of violence and repression in Iran. We condemn the brutal crackdown being carried out by Iran's security forces, including the killing of protesters. And again, this is hard. Like when we did the could you survive a coup thing, it's like this, you know that this is Israel and the United States trying to overthrow your government. They're telling you. So what are you supposed to do, right? And again, it's like, I would love for Iran to have Marxist-Leninist revolution. I would love that, but that's not what's going on. The United States and Israel are co-opting their movement. And that doesn't mean there aren't socialists in the streets. They're trying to fight for a workers' revolution, a people's revolution. But it's a little overshadowed by the United States and Israel showing up and being like, we're taking over now, boys, right? And what we've really done is those people in Iran who might actually want a socialist revolution, we've now given them 3 enemies. Now they not only have to go up against the Iranian government, if that's what they want to do, and they feel ready to do that, they also have to go up against the United States and Israel. There is no way that the people in Iran benefit from us being there at all. So that is what's going on there. So I was kind of thinking from here, this is about Minneapolis. The other thing I was thinking is that we could take a look at the Iran statements from their Communist Party, their Marxist-Leninist Party. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's called the Tudeh Party, Tudeh. If anybody knows how to pronounce that accurate, please let me know. And we're going to go on their website, basically, and we're going to look at one of their more recent statements that they released. Okay, so we have 2 statements that we can look at from them. One is from January 9th, and one is from, I believe, today. No, 3 days ago. So that's what we're going to look at first, okay? And this is posted on their website. And this is what I was telling you guys to do, too. Check out the communist parties. Check out what they're saying. Yeah, they still exist in Iran. They do. So this is what happened here on the 9th, their statement. Statement of the Tudeh Party in Iran. Long live the dynamic, encompassing, and heroic uprising of the Iranian people against the dictatorship of Ali Khamenei. So, to the militant and conscious folks, workers and all working people, heroic women and brave youth and students of Iran. The popular protest uprising, which began with protests and strikes in Tehran's bazaar, has rapidly spread over the past 13 days to dozens of cities and towns across the country. Oh, what's the chat question? Seeing human rights, so hold on, let me find those. Sorry. North Korea question. I'm seeing human rights violation reports from some org called Respect International, their parent org Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, and Freedom Fund. And the Freedom Fund. Oh, Freedom Fund. Let's look up Freedom Fund. That's... that got congressional funding written all over it, but let's see. Freedom Fund. Okay, so Freedom Fund is a Republican leadership PAC that we've learned here from Open Secrets. They're a PAC registration out of Athens, Georgia, Republican leadership PAC. So they have given $200,000 to federal candidates for office, all Republicans. So this is what we know here. So if they're affiliated with this is where they're getting their feed from, basically. Oh yeah, what's this one? Ghost in this hell. Investors, founders, key investors. Yeah, there you go. United States State Department, right there. So, yeah. So it's getting funded basically from the State Department and the Republican Party. Wild. Oh, you don't believe that the Tudeh Party is Marxist-Leninist social democrats, from your understanding. Mossadegh was associated with them. Oh, interesting. That's interesting. Well, let's keep reading it nonetheless. Let's see what they got some good stuff in there that they're saying, honestly. Oh, I'm so sorry. Is it okay now? I hit my mic. Is it okay now? Yeah. Bye, real lally human. Okay, better? Okay, we're gonna keep going. All right. So that's good context for us to keep in mind, that they could be more social democrat kind of vibes. So, contrary to the claims of the ruling dictator, the popular protest movement, also part of what I think about people being on the ground there, it comes a lot from Nagin. If you guys follow Nagin on TikTok, Iranian communist. And Nagin is like, yeah, like Israel and the United States are super fucked up involved in this, but is like, my friends and family are there and they're involved because they're socialists and they're fighting for this. So I just want to put that out there. Contrary to the claims of the ruling dictator, this popular protest movement is not a creation of U.S. imperialism or the genocidal Israeli regime, but rather the direct result of the disastrous economic policies of the ruling grand capitalist system and the widespread corruption, insecurity, and swiping oppression imposed upon the nation by the leaders of the regime and their collaborators. So their take is that obviously they hate the government. The government is capitalist at its core still, right? And it's just like in Russia, we know that's not our ideal government, but we support them internationally because they provide the necessary counterbalance to the United States. Iran, same thing. We know their government is capitalist. We know that capitalism inherently comes with exploitation. We support them because they provide a necessary counterbalance to Israel in the region. But it's very obvious that Iranians within the country who are Marxists are going to be like, yeah, but they're still capitalists and we still want, we still want a revolution for the working people here. So they did talk about the direct result of the disastrous economic policies of the ruling grand capitalist system, which I can interpret to be international. And they do talk about the sanctions in a minute. But, again, I'm always like, well, they're allowed to say whatever they want about their government. They're there. I, as an American, I'm not going to feel good talking shit about the Iranian government right now, right? So that's kind of how it goes. There is some sort of bias in that for me as well. So they say, throughout Iran's contemporary history, including during the more than half-century rule of the Pahlavi monarchy, we've borne witness to countless other examples of oppression, corruption, plunder, as well as the eventual fate of the regimes responsible. The heroic struggle of hundreds of thousands of people in dozens of cities across the country, despite the regime's efforts to violently suppress it, is clear evidence that the overwhelming majority of the Iranian people do not want the continuation of the current corrupt and anti-popular government. By implementing neoliberal policies and a so-called economic surgery, neoliberal shock therapy, this regime has pushed tens of millions of Iranians below the poverty line and has dragged the livelihoods of workers or other working people to such dire conditions that their wages and incomes no longer cover even basic necessities of life. This government has destroyed the country's productive economy and through its adventurous foreign policies aimed at exporting the Islamic Revolution has placed Iran increasingly at risk of foreign intervention and its catastrophic consequences. We believe that the only viable escape is through the assertion of the people's agency and their right to determine their own future. This path neither aligns with internal despots nor passes through war and dependence on foreign powers. Only through active and effective cooperation and solidarity among all patriotic, freedom-loving, and progressive social forces can this future be achieved and this aspiration, desired by the vast majority of the Iranian people, be realized. So they're basically trying to take this and be like, this should become a people's revolutionary movement in favor of socialism, is what their kind of take on this as. So I could see orgs in the United States issuing similar statements if we were experiencing this here. The serious challenge facing the current popular uprising is, on the one hand, the absence of a coherent progressive national leadership, and on the other hand, the extensive efforts of imperialist media outlets such as the BBC and the reactionary agents of imperialism on media platforms like Iran International, Monoto, and others to artificially manufacture a leadership and false narrative regarding these developments. In recent days, we've witnessed widespread efforts by some of these media outlets to lend a hollow legitimacy to monarchists by manipulating protest videos. Now, monarchists would be people backing the United States and Israel. Because remember, the United States and Israel, their whole thing is we're going to put the Shah back in power, and he's our guy. He listens to us. He met with Israel. He's down for the Zionists. He loves the United States. He's a king. So the people who support him, that's what they're saying. The monarchists are manipulating protest videos. They're including the adding of audio overlays and splicing footage in to misleadingly portray the restoration of monarchy as the core demand of this popular uprising and to promote and amplify this narrative thereafter. Adventurous foreign policy supporting Palestinians' interests. Yeah, it's. I mean, again, right? I'm like, your government, you can think whatever you want about it. As an American, I'm not going to be like, yeah, fuck your government. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not. But this is the statement from Marxists in there, honestly, and what they got going on. So, yeah, I can probably send a tiny girl. Hold on. There is some good stuff in here, though. And I'll get to the good stuff that's useful for us in the West to talk about. There we go. All right. So, the Tudeh Party of Iran believes that replacing the current political system, i.e. the theocratic capitalist dictatorship, with monarchical capitalist system, which would involve the reestablishing of the repressive ancien regime, which is the Shah system that the United States and Israel wants to do, thereby once more turning Iran into a military base for imperialism in the region, as well as the plundering of Iran's oil and other natural resources, cannot equate to the gaining of a free future liberated from despotism or move towards genuine social justice. So this is a section that I think is really relevant for us in the United States to be aware of and share with people. And this is where I'm like, okay, this is the part that we should talk about. You know, their own internal critiques of their government, how they think things should work in the region. That's fine. I don't need to have an opinion on that, right? But yeah, so current and forces that invest their hopes in the quasi-fascist Trump administration. I also thought it was accurate that they called it quasi-fascist, because I would not call it fully fascist, but, you know, they're inching that way, so I would also call it quasi-fascist. I appreciated that. And the genocidal Israeli government to liberate Iran, so they are critical very, very much of Israel, cannot realistically be regarded as the harbingers of a free, independent, and prosperous Iran. The painful experiences of Iraq and Libya following direct imperialist interventions in their internal affairs must serve as a serious warning and alarm bell for all progressive and freedom-loving forces in the country. So that paragraph, I'm like, this is what every American should probably hear, is this paragraph of this, right? This is important. Komradsky, I would argue the Islamic Revolution is a progressive force that has actively resisted imperialism for nearly 50 years. It has a nationalized oil industry and subsidizes civilian energy to a high degree. It arguably subsidizes way too much. Gas in Iran is 1 cent per liter. It's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I would argue also they are a stronghold against, especially American and Israeli imperialism in the Middle East. And this is why we defend Iran, just like we defend Russia, even knowing it's obviously not a Marxist-Leninist government. You know, if there are Marxist-Leninists in Iran, they're like, I think we can do better. I'm like, that's on them. That's their prerogative. That's totally fine. But for me, as an American, the things that's important for me to be aware of is what my government is up to there, right? And my government's not up to anything good in supporting this whatsoever. My government has everything they're talking about here on the mind, right? We defend Iran to defend against Greater Israel. Exactly. And what they're saying here, I'm like, yes, Iran is not going to be liberated from, as they say, the quasi-fascist Trump administration or the genocidal Israeli government. And that's important. And I think this is something we can share with people, too, if they're interested, that this is relevant to us here in the West, right, to remember this part. Today, all of us must focus all of our efforts and capacities on the continuation and expansion of this popular uprising until victory. The direct presence and broad participation of workers and other working people, retirees, civil servants, intellectuals, and patriotic segments of the middle strata of society. See, the thing to me, I'm like, ugh, patriotic. Ugh, it's like a little nationalist tent, maybe. And the ongoing popular movement are essential to strengthening its capacity. By building solidarity and unity and action among all progressive social forces in the struggle, we must strive to confront the ruling dictatorship and the threats of U.S. imperialism simultaneously. So if people are like, well, but I know people and they're not happy with the government there. That's fine. They're entitled to not be happy with the government there. Why would you want to add more governments that they're unhappy with to the situation then? If you want the people in Iran to have a popular uprising, if you know people there who are fighting for that, that's fine. Why would you also make them fight against the United States and Israel too? Right? And that's what I've been telling people. Like, that's fine. Some people like their government. Some people don't. regardless, adding the United States and Israel to the mix is not going to help anybody at all, right? So I think that's kind of messaging that I've been using that has been getting through to people, right? In case that's useful. Move towards the organization of a nationwide general strike to restrict and ultimately completely dismantle the Islamic Republic's ability to continue ruling, as well as towards the establishment of a transitional national popular government with the holding of a free and democratic referendum to determine the future path of the country are among the key strategies that must be pursued. Power to the people struggle against the regime of the Islamic Republic, against poverty, unemployment, discrimination, and repression. Members of the military and security forces, you are part of this nation. Join the people's struggle against the authoritarian regime and the bloody and violent repression of protesting people. Attacks on medical centers and hospitals are crimes against humanity. Stop these attacks. All detainees of the current movement, all political prisoners, and all prisoners of conscience must be immediately and unconditionally released. Forward towards the laying of the grounds for a nationwide general strike. So, this is what they're calling for. Now, this is their most recent update. This is from 3 days ago. Let's see. So they're saying it must again be clearly stated the outbreak of the current protest uprising and its expansion over the past 15 days are rooted directly in the rapid spread of poverty, inequality, and blatant injustice, as well as corruption and the wealth amassing of a small minority as a result of the regime's economic policies over the past 3 decades, not in the demand for return of monarchy or the restoration of monarchist rule. So again, people in Iran have problems with their governments. And I will say, in 2022, they had some feminist uprising there about not wanting to have to cover their hair scarves. And the result of that is now they don't really enforce those laws as much. So the Iranian government, even though not being ideal, does have a track record of listening when people do this and be like, okay, we can make some alterations and changes. And again, none of that has anything to do with the United States and Israel wanting to put a king back in power there, right? Totally opposed to it. And U.S. sanctions. I really think it's interesting they haven't mentioned the sanctions in this at all. Oh, confirming the Iran protests are CIA funded. Yep. We knew it. Okay, we're going to read this next. Thank you, Virgo. Important. Yes. So, the catastrophic consequences of the domestic policies of the ruling theocratic regime, combined with the devastating impact of U.S. sanctions on people's lives and livelihoods, they do mention it here, have placed the country today in an extremely difficult position. Imperialist media outlets, once again relying on their vast resources and capabilities, have launched propaganda campaigns and disseminated fabricated narratives aimed at restoring the monarchy. So again, they're saying what we hear in the West is all in the effort of getting the Shah back in place, right? They are attempting to ride the wave of the people's legitimate protests and divert the anti-dictatorship movement from its true path. On the one hand, these media provide an excuse for the regime leaders to label the people's protests uprising as the plan of the United States and Israel. On the other hand, by exaggerating monarchist currents, they seek to create obstacles in the process of building unity and coordination and action among progressive and patriotic forces. So they're basically saying that manufactured foreign dependent ideas are forming around the slogan of the return of the monarchy, but they're like, this isn't what people in Iran want. It lacks a broad social base or a serious program for democratic changes. And they say it is also incapable of achieving anything without U.S. and Israeli intervention and threats, except for sabotaging the anti-dictatorship movement and popular protests. So like whatever we're trying to do here, the United States and Israel is fucking it up. So that's pretty interesting to talk about here. It's supposed to be like a co-op, yeah. So Reza Pahlavi's shameful request to Trump on January 9th under the pretext of helping the people of Iran, in which he stated, "You have proven, and I know you are a man of peace and true to your word. Please be ready to intervene to help the people of Iran," is a clear example of the anti-national behavior of this current. In reality, such appeals have given the leaders of the Islamic Republic and its repression apparatus the opportunity and pretext they need, citing Khamenei's order labeling protesters rioters and foreign agents and warning that the government should show them no leniency by falsely accusing the people through figures such as Pezeshkian of being terrorists, instigators, and mercenaries of the enemy. I mean, but this is also real. These people really are doing that. But again, there are Iranian communists who are like, no, we are fighting like for a communist, like a people's uprising, and it's being co-opted, obviously, by the West. So you don't see why the protests can't achieve anything without Israeli or U.S. intervention. Well, they can. So what they're saying is like, and they have in the past. In 2022, protesters fought for more progressive changes for like women's dress code laws, and as a result, those dress code laws are not really enforced anymore. So they do have a track record internally of being able to handle things like this as they arise pretty naturally. The problem is that the people of Iran are not fighting for a return to the king. The United States and Israel are fighting for the king to return to Iran and rule over Iran because he is in the pocket of Israel and the United States. So yeah, the socialists in Iran are hoping for a socialist revolution. And Israel and the United States are like, nice socialist revolution attempt you got there. We're going to take it now, and we are actually going to give you a king who loves us and will fuck your country up and give us all your oil for free. So that's really what's going on. And that's why some people who do have left-wing politics who are socialists in Iran will be like, well, you don't understand. Like, we are actually fighting for different domestic policies, like different domestic leadership, a new domestic government. But we definitely don't fucking want this. We definitely don't want the United States and Israel showing up. We don't want the king back. Like, this is totally taking everything off course, whatever. And all of the media is being misrepresented to try to make it seem like everybody in Iran wants this king back, which they fucking don't. They hate him. So that's kind of the confusing point going on here. And we in the West, obviously, are just like, the number one priority is Iran's sovereignty, not having their sovereignty compromised, right? Because I think we know also that the United States and Israel are the only victors that would emerge from this in this stage, right? If Iran's sovereignty was compromised as it stands now. The 2022, I'm under the impression, was definitely backed by the United States, but there were, again, some young people, some young women, especially teenagers too, who actually were on board with wanting these changes to not have to wear their veils or be covered. They did exist. So we talked about it in another stream too, where it's like, these things, there are people there who want these things, but these movements are co-opted, fomented, funded, pushed really aggressively by the United States for our own interests. So, you know, it's like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Okay, it's like this. It's like if California was like, fuck Gavin Newsom. We hate Gavin Newsom. We want to replace them, and we want a new commie overlord in place here. And then Canada and England were like, oh my God, you're so right. Look at you go. We are so happy to bring Margaret Thatcher back from the dead and put her in control of your state. Go, go, go. I'm so happy we're all fighting for the same thing, for zombie Margaret Thatcher to be the leader of your state. You'd be like, wait, what? Wait, what's happening? No, we didn't ask for it. What are you fucking talking about? No, that's way worse. That's way fucking worse. What are you talking about? That's way worse than Gavin Newsom. It'd be like that kind of a thing. Yeah, it'd be Kamala Harris. Yeah, something like that. So the people of Iran see the Shah as the Hitler of Iran. They don't want Hitler's Nepo baby. Exactly. They hate the Shah. So they definitely don't want that. They're like, what the fuck? Like, no, get that away from here. So if that makes sense, that's it from an American perspective. Given Trump's threat of intervention in Iran, the actions of Reza Pahlavi and the leaders of the Islamic Republic together could create conditions that pave the path for a U.S. attack on Iran. Over the past few days, major Western media outlets and some Western politicians, by exaggerating the monarchist current and steering public opinion towards portraying the collapse of the Islamic Republic as inevitable and direct Western intervention under Trump's leadership as necessary, have been pursuing and guiding an alternative manufacturing project for Iran. For example, since last Friday night, BBC radio and television networks in the UK have aired videos produced by MEK, conducted interviews with John Bolton, and broadcast similar programs. These outlets and major media in France and the United States are attempting to create an atmosphere and context for intervention in Iran's domestic developments. The British government, a long-standing accomplice of the United States in advancing imperialist policies, also announced on January 11th that it sought a peaceful transfer of power in Iran. So they're really, the West is just like, you're getting a king now. You're getting a king. And the people there are like, we don't fucking want a king. So they're also saying that, additionally, we are witnessing deplorable actions by some well-known Iranian figures. There's a lawyer, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate. There's a writer and filmmaker. Secretary General of the Kamala Party. In alignment with Reza Pahlavi, they wrote a letter to Trump calling for intervention in Iran's affairs that would include military action. So they have some traitors. They got some sellouts in the masses, right? Pretty bad. Dialogue words. The host, Nima, was in Tehran during the protest and he didn't see any of it happen. He said the media in the West made it seem way bigger than it actually was. I believe this. That's why I've long been skeptical of those big numbers. Because on Twitter, when people were posting videos of the protests, none of them were using actual protest videos. They were using random things that were debunked that all were full of community notes, things happening in LA from like 3 years ago that I'm like, that's LA. So yeah, I hadn't seen a lot of very, very credible protest videos showing these huge, massive numbers also. Let's see. Let's see. Is Shirin Ebadi, who's the lawyer and Nobel Peace Prize laureate, unaware of this fascistic views, reactionary anti-woman and racist ideology, and aggressive hegemonic policies of a figure like Trump and his war criminal accomplice Netanyahu. So they hate the United States and Israel. Within the framework of the plans the United States and its allies have for our country and the region, such appeals and restoring to foreign intervention in Iran's internal affairs serve, in fact, as tools to contain and neutralize any possibility of organizing a popular movement and forming an Iranian force capable of rescuing the country from the current ruling dictatorship and guiding it towards national democratic revolutionary transformations. So I feel like this is kind of like that democratic socialist language that you guys were talking about earlier, out of them. These imperialist interventionist policies have been repeated many times in Iran over the past century. The Pahlavis played a central role in implementing these policies, benefited from them, and in return granted major concessions to the intervening powers against national interests, including during the August 19th, 1953 coup against the national government of Mossadegh following the nationalization of the oil industry. Yes, all true. After the overthrow of the four independent dictatorship of the Pahlavi family more than 4 decades ago in the Popular Revolution of 1979, the theocratic dictatorship quickly abandoned the ideals of the revolution and, to preserve the dominance of political Islam and to protect the astronomical wealth of power-connected elites, positioned itself against the working people and national interests. For years, this regime has been an obstacle to fundamental national democratic changes. So they're like, we don't love this. More about this. Let's see if there's anything else interesting before we jump to the Mint Press News article. The Islamic Republic has stated they are both ready for war and negotiations. So they clearly actually do very much see this as a foreign coup attempt, right? That's why they're negotiating with the United States. Iranian socialists. In the U.S. Last year, over 670 Iranian asylum seekers that came during the Biden administration for protesting the Iran regime were deported to Panama and other locations. ICE and CIA have a very strong presence in the community. Political dissent is not tolerated. Interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah, my Bisco Witch, my video about the 3 countries, people are really mad because they're like, well, you said invaded. And I'm like, okay, I guess technically I should have said invaded or had a military presence in. But also I'm like, come on, other countries don't have fucking military bases in our country. Like, we would feel invaded if China just plopped a military base down in Wisconsin, right? But yeah, people are mad about that. Very, very interesting. It's Luxembourg, Bhutan, and no, it's Andorra, Liechtenstein, and Bhutan. Those are the 3 countries we've never had military involvement in. And anyway, a military presence in any capacity. So this is what's going on. Then we've got the Mint Press News article, which I'm really excited to read, by our guy, Alan McLeod. We love him. Now, as waves of deadly demonstrations and counter-demonstrations hit Iran, Mint Press examines the CIA-backed think tanks helping to stir the outrage and foment more violence. One of these groups is human rights activists in Iran, who we've been talking about, frequently referred to as HRA or HRAI in the media. This group and its media arm, the Human Rights Activist News Agency, HRANA, where that 2,600 figure we kept seeing was coming from, have become the go-to group of experts for Western media and are the source of many of the most inflammatory claims and shockingly high casualty figures reported in the press. In the past week alone, their assertions have provided much of the basis for stories in CNN, The Wall Street Journal, NPR, ABC News, Sky News, and The New York Post, among others. And in a passionate plea for leftists to support the protest, Owen Jones wrote in The Guardian Tuesday that HRAI are a respected group whose death toll proclamations are probably significant underestimates. Yet, what none of these reports mention is that human rights activists in Iran is bankrolled by the Central Intelligence Agency through its cutout organization, the National Endowment for Democracy. We knew. We did that. We searched for that first, didn't we, chat? We were on here days ago, like, who funds these fuckers? We knew. Just saying, we were correct. I have to jump off of this soon, actually. Oh my God, it's so late. Okay, we're gonna read this article and then I'm gonna leave. It's so late. Oh my God. Okay. So, established in 2006, human rights activists in Iran is based in Fairfax, Virginia, just a stone's throws away from CIA headquarters in Langley. It describes itself as a non-political association of activists dedicated to advancing freedom and rights in Iran, and on its website it notes that because the organization seeks to remain independent, it doesn't accept financial aid from political groups or governments. Yet in the same paragraph, it notes that they have been accepting donations from the National Endowment for Democracy, a nonprofit, non-governmental organization in the United States of America. The level of net investment in HRAI has been substantial, to say the least. Journalist Michael Tracy found that in 2024 alone, the net had apportioned well over $900,000 to the organization. Possibly, I'll give you a typing break. Absolutely wild. Another NGO widely cited in recent media reports on the protests is the Abdurrahman Boraman Center for Human Rights in Iran. This group has been widely quoted, including by the Washington Post, PBS, and ABC News. Like with the HRAI, these reports also failed to disclose that the ABC's proximity to the U.S. national security state is strong. Although it does not mention its funding disclaimer, the center is supported by NED. Last year, NED described the center as a partner organization and awarded its director, Roya Boraman, their 2024 Goler T. Butcher Medal for Democracy Promotion. Oof. Wild. Iranian Socialist says, I personally think the royalists can make a political party and join a parliamentary government in Iran. I understand the majority personally. I think the royalists can make a political party and join a parliamentary... Okay, yeah. Oh, are not socialists, but a parliamentary democracy would be better instead of theocracy or monarchy. Interesting. All right, let's get back into this. Roya and her organization have worked rigorously and objectively to document human rights violations committed by the regime of Iran, said Amir Amati, Senior Director for NED's Middle East and North Africa programs. The work of the ABC is an indispensable resource for victims to seek justice and hold perpetrators accountable under international law. NED is proud to support Roya and the Center in their advocacy for human rights and tireless pursuits of a democratic future in Iran. In addition to this, sitting on the Center's board of directors is controversial academic Francis Fukuyama, a former NED board member and an editor of its Journal of Democracy publication. If anything, the Center for Human Rights in Iran has gone further than HRAI or ABC HRI. Widely cited across Western media, The New York Times, The Guardian, USA Today, the CHRI has been the source of many of the goriest and most lurid stories coming out of Iran. A Monday article in the Washington Post, for example, leaned on the CHRI's expertise to report that Iranian hospitals were being overwhelmed and had run out of blood to treat victims of government repression. A massacre is unfolding. The world must act now to prevent further loss of life, calling for the United States and Israel for regime change, trying to manufacture consent for that. That's according to a CHRI spokesperson. Given President Trump's recent threats about U.S. military actions in Iran, the implications of the statement were clear. And yet, like with the other NGOs profiled, none of the corporate media outlets citing the Center for Human Rights in Iran noted its close connections to the U.S. national security state. The CHRI, an Iranian human rights group based in New York City and Washington, D.C., was identified by the government of China as being directly funded by NED. The claim is far from outlandish, given that CHRI board member Megnrix Carr is a former Reagan-Fassel Democracy Fellow at the NED. And in 2002, at a star-studded gala on Capitol Hill, First Lady Laura Bush and future President Joe Biden presented Carr with NED's annual Democracy Award. So, at least affiliated with NED. NED was created in 1983 by the Reagan administration. This is just going to be a brief overview of NED, just so we know. We already are aware of this. Okay. Belarus, blah, blah, blah. All right, targeting Iran. Apart from funding the 3 U.S.-based human rights NGOs profiled here, NED is spearheading a myriad of operations targeting the Islamic Republic. According to its 2025 grant listings, there are currently 18 active NED projects for Iran, although the agency does not divulge any of the groups they are working with. This is so wild, because when I first started making TikToks, they did. They posted publicly every single grant and its recipients, and they slowly removed it from their public websites. It also refuses to divulge any hard details about these projects beyond rather bland descriptions that include empowering a network of frontline activists, promoting independent journalism, monitoring and promoting human rights, fostering internet freedom. So we get the deal, right? Reading between the lines, NED is attempting to build up a widespread network of media outlets, NGOs, activists, intellectuals, student leaders, and politicians who will all sing from the same hymn sheet, that of transitioning from authoritarianism, the current system of government, to democracy, which they call a U.S.-picked government, basically. In other words, regime change. Iran, of course, has been in American crosshairs ever since the removal of the Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi during the Islamic Revolution of 1978 and 1979. Pahlavi himself had been kept in place by the CIA, who engineered a coup against the democratically elected government of Mossadegh 1952 to 1953. Mossadegh, a secular liberal reformer, had angered Washington by nationalizing the country's oil industry, carrying out land reform, and refusing to crush the communists to their party. The CIA, NED's parent organization, infiltrated Iranian media, paying them to run hysterical anti-Mossadegh content, carried out terror attacks inside Iran, bribed officials to turn against the president, cultivated ties with reactionary elements in the military, and paid protesters to flood the street at anti-Mossadegh rallies. The Shah reigned for 26 bloody years between 1953 and 1979 until he was overthrown in the Islamic Revolution. The U.S. supported Saddam Hussein's Iraq, who almost immediately invaded Iran, leading to a bitter 8-year-long conflict that killed at least 500,000 people. Washington supplied Hussein with a wide range of weapons, including components for chemical weapons used on Iranians, as well as other weapons of mass destruction. Since 1979, Iran has also been under restrictive American economic sanctions, measures that have severely hindered the country's development. During his first term, Trump withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal and turned up the economic pressure. The result was a collapse in the value of the Iranian rial, mass unemployment, soaring rents, and a doubling of the price of food. Ordinary people lost both their savings and their long-term security. Throughout this, Trump has consistently threatened Iran with attack, finally following through in June, bombing a host of infrastructure projects inside the country. The current demonstrations began on December 28th as a protest against rising prices, yet they quickly ballooned into something much bigger, with thousands calling for an overthrow of the government and even the reinstatement of the monarchy under the son of the Shah, Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. They were quickly supported and signal boosted by the U.S. and Israeli national security states. This is the Pompeo tweet. The Iranian regime is in trouble, Pompeo announced. Happy New Year to every Iranian in the streets, also to every Mossad agent walking beside them. Israeli media are openly reporting that foreign elements, i.e. Israeli, are arming the protesters in Iran with live weapons, and this is the reason for hundreds of dead among the regime's people. So that's about them arming them. The Israeli intelligence services confirmed Pompeo's not-so-cryptic assertion. Go out together in the streets. This time has come. The spy agency's official social media accounts instructed Iranians. We are with you, not only from a distance and verbally, we are with you in the field. Trump echoed these words, take over your institutions, save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. He roared, adding that American help is on the way. Any debate about what Trump meant by American help was ended on Monday when he stated if Iran shoots and violently kills protesters, which is their custom, the United States of America will come to their rescue. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. He also attempted to place an all-out economic blockade, announcing that any country trading with Tehran would face an additional 25% tariff. Sometimes people ask, like, how are these sanctions and embargoes global if just the United States is doing it? This is how. We basically just put pressure on other countries to comply as well, so it becomes global. All of this, added to the increasing violence of the protests, makes it much harder for Iranians to express themselves politically. What started as a demonstration about the cost of living has spiraled into huge, openly insurrectionist movements backed and fomented by the U.S. and Israel. Iranians, of course, have every right to protest, but a wealth of factors have raised the very real possibility that much of the anti-government movement is an inorganic, U.S.-orchestrated attempt at regime change. While Iranians can argue about how they wish to express themselves and what sort of government they want, what is undebatable is that many of the think tanks and NGOs called upon to provide supposed expert evidence and commentary about these protests are tools of the National Endowment for Democracy. Okay, so Alan, my guy, he and I saying the same things. Like, yeah, you guys can fight amongst yourselves, but what the fuck is the United States and Israel doing over there? Get them out of there. All right, so I am so late. I'm 21 minutes late to start the rest of my work. So, yeah, is there anybody we should raid? Any other communists on Twitch? I don't watch people on Twitch. I'm so new to Twitch. So does anybody have anybody they think we should raid while we leave? Other commies, maybe? Typing break. I don't even have anything to type. I'm just going to type fake ASMR for you. There you go. That was just for you. Who should we raid? Anyone? We could do Electronic Intifada. What's the username? Oh, Kairos Rev. Should we do that? Who's Kairos Rev? We haven't done that person. Should we do it? I'll do it. How do I do it again? / raid? Is it like... Oh, yeah. Raid. I'm going to do this person. Oh, God. I forgot. I have to... We're doing this person. I don't know who they are, but I hope they enjoy it. I hope I did it right. Did it work? Yes. 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 Okay. All right. Bye, everybody. Oh, 4 seconds. Do I wait? I think I have to wait till it's done, right? Okay, bye.